Welcome everyone to the PJ's Cast. I'm your host Pierce, alongside of my good pal Dylan. Well, here we are a month later. This is our first podcast, I think, in pretty much a month. Last podcast we recorded was the day before Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final. Congratulations to the Florida Panthers on winning the Stanley Cup. I really thought the Oilers were going to pull it off, but I remember the podcast we did before then. We were talking about how Florida deserves to win that cup, and Oilers stormed back, just about pulled off the historic upset, but it's the Panthers that hold on, and we're not really going to remember the Edmonton Oilers almost coming back from 3-0 down. We're going to remember the Florida Panthers winning their first Stanley Cup in franchise history. And the NHL season was over in short order, and we flipped to the off season. We had the draft, had free agency, and it's been pretty much silence then. It's been a few weeks since July 1st in free agency, and not much has happened. So I feel it's a perfect time to kind of recap everything that's happened. We obviously wanted to take a break with summer and having to go back to work and all that stuff. But yeah, where do you want to start? Do you want to start with the draft? Do you want to start with free agency? Because there's a lot to cover. Kyle Davidson was pretty busy.
Yeah, you can lead off. I don't mind to start wherever. There is a lot to talk about.
How about we start with the first order of business? We'll just go in chronological order. There's a lot of other trades that happen across the NHL. I'm pretty sure the Linus Ullmark trade happened an hour before Game 7 started.
Not even. I'm pretty sure warm-ups were going on.
Yeah, most NHL thing to happen. Quick thoughts on that trade. I like it for Ottawa, and Boston. I also thought they didn't do too bad. I feel Boston's going to make Korpisalo way better than he was in Ottawa, and I think they got a first-round pick and some other guy. I don't know. What are your thoughts on Linus Ullmark being in Ottawa?
Yeah, this is going to be a trade we got to look. I feel like this is the case with every Ottawa trade. We got to look back on it in a year to see if Ullmark actually extends in Ottawa. Because if Ullmark extends, that's a win for Ottawa. There's not a doubt in my mind. But if Korpisalo is even remotely average as a backup, and Dean Letourneau or whatever the guy's name is,
he was 6'7". That's all you need to know.
Yeah, he's 6'7" center they drafted. That's going to BC. If he's even
and BC, good, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, they're going to be it could be an even trade at the end of the day. I think Boston, people didn't like the trade initially. Boston was in a position, I think, to where they wanted to do right by the player in a way. And if there was ever a team that needed a goalie to put them over the top, it was definitely Ottawa, especially with how they performed the last couple seasons. I thought they would have bought out a Korpisalo, if I'm being 100% honest, but I guess they're just going to bite the cap hit. I think Ottawa retained on it as well. So that's not too big of a deal at the end of the day. But yeah, I mean, I guess it's interesting. You would think Boston might get a little more since it was in division, but I guess since Ullmark didn't extend, that hinders things a little bit. Because I can't help but think if Ullmark hits the market next offseason and Boston just recouped another asset for it, it's going to be a bad luck on Ottawa. But also, if this is the move that puts Ottawa over the top, good on good on Staios and the new staff there in Ottawa for sure.
Yeah, you bring up maybe the Bruins could have gone more. I just don't think goalies are worth that much, to be honest. We saw what Markstrom got, not a whole ton. Yeah, Calgary did get a first-round pick, but it's not like you got a draft pick from this year's draft. You didn't get a top 10 pick or whatever and a high-end prospect. You just got, I think it was 2025 first, and New Jersey's probably going to make the playoffs next year. So you're maybe looking at best case scenario, late teens pick. Kevin Ball is a depth defender. I just don't think goalies go for that much, and historically that has been the case. It's funny, the best thing I could think of a trade for a team trading the goalie is when the Canucks traded Corey Schneider, and I think they got straight up the 9th overall pick. But I remember Ryan Miller being traded at the deadline. He didn't get that much. I just think historically goalies don't get that much, and I think that's why Nashville has decided to keep Saros, because the value probably wasn't there, even though their team's probably calling. Like you said, with the Senators, we got to see what happens, because it seems like the Senators have made these big splashy moves in the past and hasn't really worked out. They got DeBrincat in the 2022 draft, traded him a year later, and then same with Chicken, got him at the 2023 trade deadline, traded him to Washington. So I guess we'll see how it happens. Ullmark, I think, is an upgrade on Korpisalo, but Ullmark's not going to be playing behind the Boston defense. He's going to be playing behind Ottawa defense. But Omar has played in Buffalo before. Like, he knows what that is. So if Omar plays well and like they're able to get an extension done, home run trade for Ottawa, I honestly don't even think it's that bad of a trade for the Bruins, especially if Omar walks. But again, I guess we're gonna have to see how it plays out. Um, we got a lot of cover. We got a lot of trades, got a lot of signs, got the whole draft to cover. So we're gonna move on here, unless you got any closing thoughts on that trade.
Nah, you hit the nail on the head with that one.
So let's go on to a trade, including our Blackhawks. We got Ilya Mikheyev from the Canucks, a second round pick, and Sam Lafferty's rights, but unfortunately he went to Buffalo, and I think they gave up a 2025 fourth or 2026 fourth. I can't remember. It doesn't really matter. But Ilya Mikheyev is a Chicago Blackhawk, and this is really like the prototypical Kyle Davidson move. You get a sweetener to take on this guy who has a little bit of a hefty contract, but definitely one that the Blackhawks can manage because it's 2 years left, and I think Vancouver even retained on it. So I think they're paying him a smidge over $4 million for the next couple of years. And you look at the playing style, big, fast skating forward, Ilya Mikheyev fits the Kyle Davidson mold. So what are your thoughts on the trade? I love the trade, and I feel he's going to be paired with Dickinson for most of next season, and that's going to be a menace of a third line to deal with that speed and that size.
100%. Took the words right out of my mouth. As soon as Mikheyev got picked up, I think I texted everyone, and I was just like, yeah, that third line is going to be Mikheyev, Dickinson, and Anderson, and that's your shutdown line, or it's your fourth line, or it's your second line. I really don't care what line they play on. They know their role. And I think one thing that's been clear with Mikheyev, even when, like I think he had no goals in his last whatever games, he had a –
And it seems like I was gonna say, it seems like in the playoffs he had so many breakaways, like so many odd-man rushes, so many big chances, especially watching that Oilers series, and he just could not bury it for the love of God. But hopefully, maybe he has a little bit more luck in Chicago. Almost kind of like Brandon Saad in a way, it feels like.
Even if he doesn't, I mean, it's a defensive third line forward that this team needs. And even I could see him getting looks in the top six at some point just because of his speed alone. Like, I feel like him and Taylor Hall can make something work together just because of the speed, him and Lucas Reichel. There's some interesting combinations you can do with Mikheyev. I feel like the penalty kill is going to be extremely nice to have him.
Oh, the penalty kill is going to be so much more better. Like, we're going to talk about it with the moves coming up, but with all the moves they made, there's so many interesting combinations they can try, whether that's 5-on-5, power play, penalty kill. Like, we talk about Dickinson and Mikheyev being together. I would like to see them try Bertuzzi, Dickinson, and Mikheyev. Have fun playing against that.
100%. And they're going to have options with that for sure. I think it would have been cool to see Lafferty come back. I wouldn't have paid him what he got in Buffalo. I'm happy for them, but it's all right. They went a different way, and that's okay. I think the way Davidson even described the trade is that second he got, he's gonna intend to use when the team's good. You want to have assets when the team's good, so you can trade that second for a Max Domi at the deadline or something like that. Like, I'm just thinking of trades where second round picks been useful. Taylor Hall a couple of years ago at the deadline cost a second round pick. Ivan Barbashev, recent example, second round pick, Stanley Cup champion,
one of the best
5-year extension.
Yeah.
Arturi Lehkonen, another good one. Like, this is why you get those seconds. So, like, I know a lot of people, like, even this year, I was a little hesitant prior to the draft of how Davidson was kind of delving his picks. But the more I've done research on these players since they've been drafted, and, the more I've seen how he attacked free agency, because I think you and I talked about this a lot. I was very intrigued as to how he was going to go about this offseason with Bedard, because, it's one thing when he's a rookie, but you know what he is. You need to put stuff around him. And I think Davidson has taken those steps this offseason, even if it's not the way I thought he was going to go with it, which is good, because I'm going to be honest. Like you said earlier, I did not think they were going to get Tyler Bertuzzi this offseason. That was very and you listen to what Bertuzzi said. It sounds like Foligno called him the night of the 30th and was just like, hey, we'd love you in Chicago. And this guy's like, oh, wait, they're going to give me 4 years? I'll hop on over.
Dude, not only is he the co-captain, he's pretty much the assistant GM at this point. Like, good God. I love Nick Foligno so much. He's well worth that price that we're paying him if he's doing all these roles.
God bless Ian Mitchell and Alec Regula. We literally got, if Taylor Hall can play more than 50 games this year, like, that trade was well worth it. Even just for Foligno alone. They traded nothing for those guys. And they're key locker room pieces. And, the roster right now is, I'm not gonna say they're good, but like they're competitive, which is really all we wanted. And I think looking at their free agent signings, like it's gonna delve well for morale in the locker room. It's gonna delve well for the kids because they're not gonna be rushed, which I think we'll get into in a moment. But like, I don't know, man. Like the Mikheyev trade was just the tip of the iceberg. I remember we were all sitting there waiting for it to get finalized for like 2 hours. But
yeah, it took like 2-3 hours for Mikheyev to officially accept it. And the reason why he wanted to go to Chicago, deep dish pizza. I mean,
yeah, over the Sharks,
and we
the
all
Sharks were in on him. I forgot about that.
You're just like, I don't know if I want to go to Chicago. Oh, San Jose's called. Oh, okay, no, let's go to Chicago.
Yeah, I don't want to go there. Sorry, guys.
So we're kind of talking about free agency. Do you want to get into free agency first, or you still kind of want to stay on the chronological path and go through what happened at the draft?
I think we should go chronological because it really shows what the Hawks' game plan was, I think. So I mean, we'll start from the top. I mean, the draft, the first pick went about as every Hawks fan that did the research expected. The Hawks were in love with Levshu-teuving. You can hear it in the every shift report. They
know exactly why. There was the debate. I think a lot of Hawks Twitter fans wanted Ivan Demidov, and I totally understand why. He's the flashy winger that could have been Connor Bedard's time. Before we even get into that, Kyle Davidson just about made that reality happen, not only with Levshu-teuving and Ivan Demidov. Probably the biggest news from the Blackhawks this offseason is the thing that didn't happen. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so let's get into that. So Pierce and I are at dinner after the draft.
Very good steak, by the way.
Oh, so good. We went to Smith and Lewinsky's. Amazing. So good. But we're sitting there.
Oh, by the way, Vegas, so much fun, very hot, but the Sphere was fucking incredible. I don't know if it's because of the edible I took beforehand, but I just remember sitting in there and it was so surreal.
Sphere is actually breathtaking.
Yeah, we criticize the NHL for so many things, and rightfully so, but holy shit, did they hit the nail on the head with holding it there. And that should be a regular thing. Maybe not every year because Vegas is so hot. I think Mark Lazarus said that what they should do is they should hold the draft up more north because it's in the summer, but then for the All-Star break, hold it like more southern when it's more cooler. But anyways, you go ahead. I keep it interrupting.
No, you're good. You're good. So we're this is post-draft. We're all sitting at the dinner table. I think there was a couple of NHL scouts at the bar that we pointed out because I could hear them talking about like how their day went, which is pretty funny. But my jaw drops at the table. And Pierce is just like, what happened? And I was just like,
because I remember you were like looking at your phone and you're like,
yeah, I literally threw my hands up. I was so mad. I was so bummed, dude. I was so bummed because the rumor all week before the draft was that Columbus was shopping for. That was always in the cards. Obviously, they were very in love with Lindstrom. I completely understand that. I was comfortable with taking that guy second overall. Like he's a hell of a hockey player. But according to what
Fantilli and Lindstrom,
dude, nasty. Like they literally have my dream center core if we didn't have Bedard. Like if that was what we drafted the last 2 years, I would have been so happy. But even
Columbus is like alternate reality Blackhawks with all the draft picks.
Bro, God, they literally are. It's actually crazy. They both stink still, but that's not the point. Yeah. But LeBron basically comes out and says that Chicago had an offer on the table for number 4. They were going to trade their own pick in 2025 unprotected, and I think a second and something else. But basically
next year, I believe. Yeah.
If Anaheim would have taken Lindstrom third, that trade would have happened. And call me crazy, but this is where I start like big braining a little bit. Because if you know that Columbus is hell-bent on Lindstrom at 4, take Demidov at 2. Trade up to 4 and go get Levshu-teuving. Like, that's a whole other story.
But there might have been the possibility that knew what he wanted. Levshu-teuving. Yeah.
Dog, if they walked out of that draft with Levshu-teuving, Demidov, and Boisvert, like, because I don't think they go trade for Verdacker if they do that, but holy
fuck, they still might have. I can't remember the last
time.
Dude,
if they had 4
first round.
Oh, God, like it honestly ruined the dinner Pierce and I had because I just sat there the whole time salivating over what could have been. Oh my God!
Do you know like it reminded me of this Bill Burr bit where it's like You know when you're taking a shower and then there's just that one thing that ruins your mind and you're just sitting there in the shower with like all the water pouring down, you're like, fuck, that was you the whole night.
Dude, we were this close to like the perfect reality.
We were on the verge, yeah.
Oh man. But
Kyle Davidson saw the tweets. He's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna get both or try to get both." It would have been awesome if it happened. Like, yeah, Columbus probably would have gotten a top 3, top 5 pick next year. Like, there's a possibility Columbus could have gotten the first overall pick next year for that trade. But I respect the hell out of Kyle Davidson because who honestly at that point you got Levshu-teuving, Demidov. They probably would have still selected Bovair, maybe even moved into
such
the
a
first round
fucking
again to get
nasty forward
Vanacker.
core if you can
Yeah.
get all them.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Like you almost don't care at that point. And they were pretty aggressive at this free agency. I wonder how much more aggressive Davidson would have gotten if they gotten Demidov because you got to do everything, and you're like you got to do everything in your power to make sure, like at worst, like they're not getting a top 5 pick. Like I wonder if they would have gone after Gensel. I wonder if they would have gone after Stamkos or Marcia. So like they were still pretty aggressive in free agency, but like holy, it sucks it didn't happen. I would have loved to have Levshu-teuving and Demidov. Like kind of going back to earlier, like I know exactly why fans want Demidov. You see the highlight reels. He could be
dude, he's sick. We've been
partner.
talking about him for 2 years.
Mm-hmm,
Like
mm-hmm.
he's
But then I know why Kyle Davidson and the front office want Artem Levshu-teuving. Like they've gotten plenty of viewings of him when he was playing at Michigan. Right-handed defenseman, like those are so hard to come by. So I totally get why they went with him at number 2, and I love it. Like I can't even be mad. What have I preferred Demidov? Absolutely, but I also love Levshu. Like that's the thing. I don't think they could have gone wrong at that pick, and they were so close to getting both, but alas, was not meant to be. But it does give me hope for the future that Kyle Davidson, like if he has a chance to pull off a trade like that, he's going to do his damnedest to do it because it sounds like Columbus was pretty close to accepting the trade. So.
yeah, it would have been very funny because it would have been a completely different route of going to trade with Columbus than in previous years. But like you listen
I was
to
gonna say trading another unprotected first to Columbus or whatever was top 2.
what could possibly go wrong.
Give him another high traffic. Yeah.
But yeah, like you listen to the every shift where like Mark Eaton and Mike Donahue are talking about Levshu-teuving and what they see in this kid. And like you listen to like Brian Campbell's talking about how he never saw this kid get beat in college. And like you watch his highlights, he's so good, but he's so raw, which is a good thing because
that's the thing. He has that high floor, but he also has a very high ceiling that they want to tap into. And I think that's why they signed him and got him into Rockford. Like, I don't think they could have gone wrong putting him back to Michigan. He probably would have played one more year and he would have signed at the end of the season anyway. But we talked about how like Vlasic benefited from playing in Rockford a full year. We talked about like even Kaiser and Del Mastro playing down there, how that's made them better defensemen. Yeah, Nolan Allen as well. Even like Isaac Phillips to an extent. Andrew Sorensen, I need you to work your magic on Artem Levshu-teuving. Artem Levshu-teuving easily has the highest offensive potential out of all those defensemen. Great skater. He has the size, right-handed to top it all off. And like the big thing from what I heard with Levshu-teuving is like he was inconsistent. Like he was so good that like he didn't have to try 100% most of the nights because he was just better than everyone. And if you're hitting that consistency level more often, you're gonna have to adjust to playing in the pro leagues, even if like HL isn't the NHL, but the AHL isn't, a walk in the park. It's not a piece of cake. Like it's gonna be a challenge for him, but there's a possibility that he thrives. There's a possibility he plays with Kevin Korchinski down in Rockford. That could very much happen this year. And if he plays good enough, like he could be in the NHL by the end of the year, at least get like a few game sample.
I think he's going to get a few game sample regardless, just because of the way they've set up the decor. Someone's either getting traded or someone's going to get hurt, and he'll get an opportunity. But one thing that got brought up when talking about Levshu-teuving's development, which I thought was interesting, is that he's jumped to a different league the last 4 years now. Maybe some consistency would have been nice, but also now he's literally in the organization he's going to be in for the rest of his career potentially. Rockford is going to be loaded if the way
that defense is nasty. Holy.
Dude. like Phillips Crevier is their third pair. I'm pretty sure it's disgusting.
That was their
like,
third pair last year. It's
literally, it's the defensive depth of the organization is at an all time high right now, and that's not even accounting that Renzel's still at Minnesota killing it. Like
Renzel might sign at the end of the year. I was hearing.
Dude,
Like,
Renzel
he's
took
developed that
huge steps
fast.
this
Yeah,
year.
he took such huge steps. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like he and like I don't think it got talked about enough just because the Hawks were in like when Bedard got back, I think we were all just in Bedard mode for the rest of the year. But Moore and Renzel finished the season super strong in Minnesota. And it would not surprise me if one or both of them signed at the end of next year after their college seasons. And I'm not saying they're going to make the team, but like that's just more organizational depth. Like we're talking about like guys like Colton Docker an afterthought, and they're definitely going to get looks if this roster has injuries this year, which always happen. Like it's one thing we talk about with the Hawks all the time that frustrates me. Like the last 2 years, they had zero organizational depth whatsoever.
Oh, to anyone complaining about the moves they've made in free agency, do you really want to see another year like last year? As soon as Bedard got injured, they were scraping at the bottom of the barrel, getting guys from the ECHL and having to
averaging
trade,
1 goal
like
a game.
And like having to trade 6th and 7th round picks and future considerations and like for like Rem Pitlick and getting off waivers. You really want to go through that again? Like I don't get it.
Yeah, it's not ideal. Like a couple years ago, they had good organizational depth. I feel like when you could have Gaudette in the minors, like just to have a player like that in the minors, they didn't have that the last couple years. It was like you got Gutman, and then who the hell else are you calling? I was
gonna say Gutman's an afterthought. He had an incredible year in the AHL, and granted, he's not like high on the chart, and he is a little older, but like that's a guy who can play in your bottom 6, and he's probably like. You make a 5th line, he might not even be on the 5th line for the Blackhawks. Like that's how much depth they got right now. It's a good thing.
100%. And the depth is going to put pressure on the kids to put on their development, and if they don't, it's okay because they have the depth to ease them in. I look at guys like Korchinski, Reichel, and Nazar, who Korchinski, I think he was starting to find his footing a little bit towards the end of the year. You started to like. I think Mitch Brown said it best. Like, if they're showing the signs of their game that like made them what they are at the pro level, they're not.
That's really stuck with me. Yeah,
because like at least personally with me, like I think I've said it before. I don't think Korchinski's a 1. That's why they drafted Levshu-teuving. But like, I could see with Korchinski's game stuff that's going to last in the NHL more than I did when we watched Boquist at the same age. And I feel like Boquist was trying to put a square peg in a round hole at times, and that might have been the coaching staff. Like, I don't know. Him playing top pair was probably not the best for his development at 19, but the way they use Korchinski and the way he is.
Don't worry, he's going to tap into his potential in Florida, though.
Oh yeah, he's gonna be a 40-point defenseman on the side.
He's going to be Brandon Montour 2.0. Unreal. Yeah, it's crazy the depth they have now, and looking at them drafting Levshu-teuving, like I get why they got him. Like they think he's going to be the number 1 defenseman that this team needs. I don't know if he's like Cale McCart, Quinn Hughes good, but if he's like Charlie McAvoy good, like Miro Heiskanen kind of level, or a bit of a step below that, then awesome pick. I still think I think it's a great pick regardless, but yeah, just I think like your defense is set now. You can never have too many defensemen, like unless there's a franchise defenseman that you can't miss next year. I think the focus for this team going forward has to be high end forward, particularly centers. Like we've talked about this, wingers, like you can get elite wingers. Like you don't have to pay an arm and a leg to get them. It's not that difficult too, but like getting centers, getting defensemen, especially right-handed defensemen, is so difficult. The possibility that there could be like a right side of Jones, Levshu-teuving, and Renzel by the end of the year is crazy to think about. And the fact that Bedard, Nazar, and Moore could all be in the forward lineup by the end of the year is crazy as well. Like not only is this like have they made the signings to make this team better, but we're starting to slowly see all these young guys come up and what their roles on the team could be. Going on to the rest of the draft, Sasha Bovaert, they picked him 18th overall. It sounded like the Hawks were really high on him. I think when they traded up to get number 18 from the Islanders, Like that was someone they were targeting. They interviewed him, and a little different from like guys like Frank Nazar and Oliver Moore, a bit more size to him, more of a shoot first centerman kind of guy. And I'm thinking about how they're building this team. I think it's very similar to what Vegas has done. Like I just look at that defense. Like if Lev Shunov in a few years is like their Petrangelo and Korchinski is Theodore, and then like Vlasic is like I don't know Nick Hague, McNabb, or any of those guys, and then I look at the forward core. Like I look at the center core, Connor Bedard's your Jack Eichel, Oliver Moore could be your William Karlsson, and then like Sasha Bovair could be like your Nick Waugh. Like I think that's how they're trying to build this team and getting more center depth. I don't know if Bovair is going to be a top six guy, like a legitimate top six guy, but definitely a middle six guy, center with a big shot, could be on the power play, second power play, and could be a penalty killing kind of guy. I like the pick. What'd you think about Bovair? Because there were like the Islanders took Yzerman. Like there's some guys with probably higher upside that they could have taken, but Bovair, from what I've heard, it's likely he's going to be a center. He's going to North Dakota. Like it's helped solidify that center core. Moore and Nazar are going to go to wings. I don't know. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I got to watch like these next couple picks, especially Vanacker and Boisvert.
I heard Brandon saw comparisons to Vanacker, and if you can get that late, that's great.
Yeah, I started watching a good bit of tape on both of them, and with Boisvert, I could see how when he because he got interviewed and they were saying he was saying how he tried to model his game after Kopitar. I 100% see that. I'm not saying he could be a 1C, but like
no, he doesn't. He doesn't
this is like literally if he's your Michael Hanzus on this team, that's a win. That's a win. That means he's a third line center that's productive. His game is going to benefit because he can play power play and penalty kill. He can play the middle. He can play the wing, which I think is something that Davidson has looked for, especially with like Nazar and Moore, because, not like one of them's going to have to be the second line center at this point, unless they draft someone next year. It's just who takes that opportunity and runs with it. My gut says Nazar right now, but let's see how Moore and Boisvert develop over the next couple of years. But Boisvert's game, his shot is ridiculous. His vision of where to be on the ice, even when the puck's not on his stick, because, you see it a lot at that age. There's some players that will just, if the puck's not on their stick, they're puck watching. That's just what it is at the end of the day. This guy's always putting himself in the right positions. He goes to the front of the net. Like, this type of guy, like, I'm not going to say in terms of playmaking he's on this level, but like the way the Hawks used to use Dylan Strome is a way that I could see Sasha Boisvert being used.
If he's Dylan Strome, yes, please. Like,
yeah, like that's a good outcome from this draft pick. And this is a guy that he's pretty raw, so I don't think he's going to be on the team for at least 2 years. But
probably, you're probably looking at least 2 years at the University of North Dakota.
Yeah, and he'll get to get top minutes at that program because North Dakota doesn't have too high end of talent right now, which you can look as a good thing or a bad thing, but also like he's going to get the minutes he needs to develop. And when I was watching his highlights, I could see why he got drafted that high, and two, I could see why his line mate Matt Van Greeden got drafted by Calgary that high because that guy's got a freaking cannon. Holy crap. When they got on the power play at Muskegon, it was nuts. Like
Nutter Butters, you would even say.
Or whatever the minor league team is that they play for in the USHL. But they crazy. Like I'm pumped for this pick. I was really hoping for Brandon Nygaard. I think we were talking about that. We were in
the most Detroit pick ever. Like it's Nick Lidstrom making the pick, but we talk about hockey, how it feels like it's growing so slow. It was so cool. We got to celebrate the little things. It's cool to see Artem Levshunov, the highest drafted Belarusian player in NHL history, second overall. First, 2 Norwegian players taken in the first round of the NHL draft. That was Brandon Nygaard with the Red Wings, and then the Ducks took Stian Solberg.
Yeah, the Ducks draft approach was very interesting. Stian Solberg and Bennett Seneca.
Yeah, the draft really started at 3, especially like we said, the Blackhawks can do whatever at 2, but I feel like the leading week into the draft, it was Blackhawks are probably going to go Levshunov, and it really starts with Anaheim, and for a while it sounded like they were going to go Z William, who ended up dropping. Like that's the thing, the chaos of draft night, and you're thinking, oh, maybe they go Lindstrom, potentially even Demidov. But we say this all the time. Patty Verbeek marches to the beat of his own drum, and he went out and took Beckett Seneca, and the most surprised person in the sphere was Beckett Seneca. He was like, "Holy fuck, can't believe that happened." You want to get into the rest of the draft? I kind of want to quickly wrap up like what's the Blackhawk like. So Boisvert, 36 goals in 61 games for the Muskegon Lumberjacks, and like the USHL, like again, it's lower than like the CHL, but it's not an easy league to get goals in. So I think that's a promising sign. Merrick Vanacker had a great year with Brantford with Nick Lardis. I think he played with him quite a bit, and that's probably why Kyle Davidson wanted to draft him because he got a lot of good viewings of him. And I think even more intriguing is the players that they drafted in the third rounds. John Mustard, which by the way, perfect that he's going to Chicago. If only he was a defenseman, then they could have put D for defense, Dijon Mustard. That would have been funny, I think. And AJ, we were this close. And AJ Spalassi, I believe is how you say it. I was reading an article of Scott Wheeler's like, oh, who are the fastest skaters, best skaters in this draft? And I think number 1, number 2 was Mustard and Spalassi.
And I'm pretty sure Jack Fredham was top 5.
So Spalletti was like offered a football scholarship as well. Like that guy is just an athlete.
Bro, he got offered a safety scholarship from Iowa State. Like, I don't think people realize how crazy that is. Freak athletes across the board. I think Spalletti said that he models his game after Tom Wilson, which like awesome.
Yeah.
If you could beat this team's Andrew Shaw, go crazy. Like that's like we'll need players like that down the line. You know, you look at I wanted to talk about Vanacker real quick. I know we kind of glanced over him, but I started watching tape on this kid and I'm thinking of a penalty kill unit like 3 years down the line. It's going to be Merrick Vanacker and Oliver Moore, and they're going to give teams a living fucking hell. Like it's going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem. Merrick Vanacker, like the fact that he was putting up those types of statistics with the torn labrum.
That's right. He's injured. Yeah.
The upside is immense with this player. If he can recover from that injury, and like we've seen this with Nazar, it took a little bit with Nazar, but then that next year when he was healthy, you could see why they drafted him that high. And like I watched the every shift. Like go listen to that. Like I don't know if you've seen that every shift yet for the draft. Go watch it because Kyle Davidson did watch it. Yeah, Davidson.
And by the way, shout out to the Blackhawks team for the way that they edit those and even show them. Because I know there's some, I think the Oilers, you have to pay for like Oilers TV or whatever. Shout out to the Blackhawks for not only like editing it so well, but making it free, accessible for everyone. They're so good. They do such a good job with that. So shout out to them.
100%. They've been doing it for 2 years, and like every year, it's awesome. Like
they would even do it with the old regime as well. Like they've been doing it for a while now.
Yeah, I remember 2018 seeing Bowman on the table talking about Boquist. Like they're always very good about doing this interactive stuff. But, you know, Vanacker's the type of guy that I could see just being such a stud on our third line for the foreseeable future. And, like, yeah, that's not what you want to hear. But also, like, he could have top 6 upside. Like, fuck, all I know is he could be Brandon Hagel without the skating. Like, who knows? But, like, I just, when I watch his game, he tries to model it after O'Reilly. He's got a decent amount of speed. He gets chances. He plays both ways. He could play power play. He could play penalty kill. He could play wing, either wing, which is nice. He's not afraid to go to the dirty areas. Like once he fills his frame in a little more, because I think he's like 165. Like you're gonna have to.
He's like 6 feet, $170.
Yeah, let's put on like 20 pounds of muscle, and then you'll be good to go. But I don't know, man. That's a guy you give like 2 or 3 years to develop, and he comes into the league, and everyone's like, "How'd you get this guy? What happened?" Like, for all I know, this could be the Wyatt Johnston pick for us because, like, let's be honest, no one thought Wyatt Johnston was going to be that player. And the more I read about Vanacker, I was seeing scouts saying that he's like top 15 upside in the draft. Like, people see what this player can be when he's fully healthy. So I think like, and especially with how adamant the scouting staff was to get him on the floor, which is crazy to me because like we've seen how this staff is with guys they want. Davidson almost traded up for more last year. He 2 years ago,
Thankfully, landed right in their laps. Yeah.
2 years ago, I saw Danny Wirtz looking at Renzel tape on a goddamn flight to Montreal. Like they know who they want. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I got a lot of faith in what
Shit just about got Demidov too. Like they want to go nightmare. Yeah, just keep bringing that up.
No, but to get like one stud defenseman and five forwards, where if three of them can be contributors, that's a win. I think Ty Henry was a nice pick in the late rounds. I think if you give him like 4 years, he might be like another Isaac Phillips type situation. But
if you get that,
great draft class overall.
Mm-hmm.
For what we were advertised with, I wasn't expecting him to be this aggressive. Let's just put it that way.
No. Kind of wrap up with Banacker and the Blackhawks draft class. 68 games, 36 goals, 46 assists for 82 points for the Brantford Bulldogs. So if that's him doing that while being injured, like I can't wait to see like when he has a full year of being healthy. Like I want to see not next year, but the year after that, what kind of crazy numbers he could put up in the OHL. Yeah, and the crazy thing is they still have 2 first-round picks next year. They still have so many seconds. Like this is not the end of them making a high quantity of picks. Like they still have a lot of high-end picks, and even though they didn't get the trade for Demidov this year, you wonder if there is a possibility next year, like if another high-end prospect falls, if they could trade their first-round pick and maybe make something happen next year. I mean, next year's the perfect class for them because it doesn't sound like there's a lot of high-end defensemen. So I don't believe
this is why they got Levshu.
Yeah, I don't believe like you should come into the draft being like, oh, we got to get a defenseman this year because there's not going to be any next year. Like, it plays a little part in it, but like mainly you get Levshu because that's the guy that you want. But yeah, again, unless you're getting like a franchise defenseman with a top pick, like your main focus needs to be high-end forwards, particularly centers, and it sounds like that's exactly what the next class offers. Like, I haven't really even looked at it, but like James Haggins is supposed to be the supposed first overall pick, but there's a lot of guys that are going to challenge him for that, so it's going to be interesting to see how that unfolds. Do you have any closing thoughts? Do you want to talk about the 2025 class quickly, or do you want to kind of go through the rest of the draft?
Just some sneak peeks.
Yeah, let's do
couple guys games that I like a lot. Roger McQueen, I think I've talked to you about. Porter Marteau.
Dude, his last name's friggin' McQueen.
Dude, if he's McQueen, he doesn't wear 95. It's a crime.
Like, I was gonna say on the topic of that, McKay being number 95 is perfect.
How dare you stand where Dylan Secura stood? I can't even believe this. But
bro, he ain't gonna hit 20 goals and 40 assists for 60 points.
If he could do half of both of those, I'll be happy. But fucking, what was I gonna say? 2025 draft. Anton Frundell is a guy that I think in the range where the Hawks are gonna pick. Like he could play center, he could play wing. He's crushing the Swedish league. But the thing is, I think he's crushing the Swedish league so much that he's probably gonna go top 3. So it's just like the top 4 or 5 forwards, I think are gonna separate themselves. Like there's a guy in Russia, Ivan Ryabkin. He's disgusting. Like he's putting up numbers like Demidov and Michkov. So it's just like he's going to be in the mix. I think my personal favorite for like the Toronto pick, or if the Hawks were decent in the teens, would be Jordan Gavin. I think Jordan Gavin's game would just benefit every center the Hawks have drafted. This guy's 6'2", and he's just fast as a whip and could shoot and could. He's so creative with his playmaking, and it's something that would just fit right in with like a Nazar. If you watch his tape, like I just think he could be the McGroarty to Nazar's, like to him when he was at Michigan. There's William Moore, 6'4" centerman, like out of the U.S. development program. Moores. Like double Moores, like that'd be kind of fun. There's some good players in this draft though, and it's just scratching the surface. Like you know how these drafts work. Like I can look at the draft rankings from last year around this time, probably completely different than how the draft actually went.
Mm-hmm.
But like for God's sakes, Aaron Kiwi-Haru was like consensus number 1 2 years ago. So
fourth or fifth. Did you see the video of him? Of course, the Wild got him when they drafted him. He's like, "You just got the fucking." Well, he didn't say fucking. He's like, "You just got the steal of the glass." He went. Of the draft class, he went up to Bill Guerin and like shook his hand, like dabbed him up, and he was like, "Yeah, you got the steal of the class." And he's like, "Oh, well, good, that's what I want to hear." Like, I wish we get more of that out of hockey players. I love hearing that. There must have been some medical. I don't know fully what happened. It might have even come up, but there had to have been medical issues. There's no way he would fall that far. But anyways, what?
I'm sorry. I need to go off topic first.
What? I'm like watching you. Like, I'm like,
No,
what? Did I say something?
my sister sends me a tweet. I don't mean to go completely off topic, but like just for like real world purposes, Joe Biden stepped down from presidency today.
What?
And I get a message from my sister, Josh Matlow on Twitter. Of note to Canadians, if Kamala Harris is elected president, she'll have a personal understanding of our country as a former Montreal resident. That's very helpful given the how critical the cross-border relationship is. However, due to that history, she may also hate the Leafs. I found it. How did this affect the Leafs to take on Biden stepping down?
How can we make this about the Leafs? Let's go!
Oh, the fact that my sister sent me that is actually making me.
I love that we live in a world that Shams was the one. I found out from Shams that.
No, I did too, bro. Like, fuck that shit. I should not be finding out politics from Shams. Like,
I also love that Popcrave was the one who tweeted. I also saw from Popcrave they were the ones that tweeted out that Donald Trump got shot at. So
did you see disgusting film be like Parks and Rec cast member Joe Biden is stepping down from presidency?
I love that so much. It's like when Trump was like going through all that legal stuff, and it was just like former Home Alone 2 star is going on trial right now. God, I love 2024. I really do. The world is not going to end anytime soon. Like,
it's so bad. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to go off topic.
Back to the draft class. No, that was funny. That was well worth the time.
Also, the Democrats blew up their court before the Leafs did.
That's funny. What do you mean they didn't make any trades? I'll get on that later. Let's go through the rest of the draft. So we briefly talked about it, but drafts pretty much starting at 3. Ducks going off the board, drafting Beckett Seneca. Bold, like, but if there's a team that earns the benefit of the doubt, it is the Ducks. Like, the Ducks have just drafted so well, really throughout their whole history, but especially the past 3 or 4 years. They're going to be a problem soon. Maybe not this year, but in the next coming years, I think we're going to see some Ducks Blackhawks conference finals potentially in the future. Like, if there's a team, like, they got everywhere covered. If they want to go Seneca at number 3, I got no problem with that. I wouldn't have drafted him that high, but you know what? Good for Seneca. His reaction was priceless.
100%. I mean, Anaheim was the same team that took McTavish 3rd, and we all were like, "What?" And McTavish.
They even took Leo Carlson 2nd last year. Like, yeah, it's not always the player we think they're going to take, but they usually take the right player. So.
100%. Another Pat Verbeek masterclass, guys. Too bad. Certainly, they did stuff in free agency to make their team better. Jesus.
Narrator, they did nothing.
But yeah, Seneca was definitely like the gasp in the sphere was a lot of fun. It wasn't as big as like the Slavkovsky gasp or like the Carlson gasp.
I'm sorry, nothing will ever top Montreal just in terms of like pure chaos. Like, the sphere was awesome, but like if you're looking pure trades and like crowd reaction, Montreal, I don't think it's gonna be top.
Sphere is spectacle, atmosphere, it's Montreal, no question.
Yeah. Like, we were just fed like a sugar rush there, and we can never get that high again, you know?
And then Nashville was just like Bedard.
It was just fun to be cheering for Bedard. Oh no, only Bedard, yeah.
And to see all the Hawks fans in Nashville, that was awesome.
Well, yeah, we again talked about it a bit earlier. Columbus getting Caden Lindstrom at number 4. Great pick, no nuts there. Montreal getting Ivan Demidov at number 5, and Celine Dion coming on stage to announce it. That was pretty cool. It's funny because last year I think like Montreal was in the situation Chicago might be in. Like, last year, the Habs got a lot of flack for drafting Reinbacher over Michkov, but then this year they get Demidov, and again, it's funny that the Blackhawks were almost able to pull off both of them, but. Apparently, Montreal didn't go to see Demidov in Florida when he came over. Like, they were trying to not give away that they wanted to go Demidov. and they took him at 5. Great pick for them. Number 6, TJ Ginla to Utah, and I think Ottawa wanted him. I think obviously Calgary wanted him as well, but I respect Utah going with TJ Ginla that high. Like, we've heard Brandon Hagel comps, and we've seen what Brandon Hagel has really done now that he's reached his potential at Tampa Bay. I like what Utah did overall. We'll get more on that later. Senators going Carter Yakimchuk. Don't know if he's going to be like a number 1 top pairing defenseman, but right-handed shot defenseman who could play in your top 4. It's not a bad pick to get. Berkeley Catton going to Seattle. I really thought they were to go defenseman here, but I also really like the Catton pick. Potentially having a center core of Beniers, Catton, and Wright down the middle, or maybe shifting one of them to the wing that gives them more high on offense. I like that as well.
I just want to jump in. I would have preferred Parekh for Seattle there, but that's just me. Parekh or Dickinson. I really thought they were going to go get a defenseman to help.
I really thought they were going defenseman. Yeah.
But
Zane Parekh going
to Catton too. Like, I didn't realize how good the season Cat had at Spokane either. By the way, I think it was like 90 something points or something like that. It was
no, he had like 110 something. I think like he had a lot.
Let's look it up.
Mm-hmm.
Berkeley Catton. Let's see what you did.
I don't know if he got over 50. He either got really close to 50. He had like over 66. So he had like 110 something points. Like, he produced like crazy. Like, he was up there with some of the best CHL season the past
54 years. Goals, 62 assists. Yeah, that's pretty
even
decent.
Better. Yeah,
it's pretty decent. Holy shit! In 68 games. Yeah. All right, that's awesome.
But he's under 6 feet tall though. Don't know if we can.
I'm cool with it. It's just like they have Beniers and Wright. Like, I don't know. I guess if you put one of them, like you said, you put one of them on the wing, you'll be good. And also, like, Beniers did take like a stagnant step in his development, but also like Lucas Raymond did the year before, and now he had 70 points last year. So it's just like you got to be patient.
Sophomore slump is a thing. Yeah,
it's a very real thing. Alex DeBrincat got it in his 3rd year instead of his sophomore year. But
yeah, sometimes it isn't always the 2nd year, but a lot of the time these young guys like go through one bad season in their first few seasons. So
you can almost be money in the bank for like. Sorry. I'm going to cut you off, but you can almost be money in the bank for like 80% of prospects. One of their 3 years in that ELC, they're going to have a down year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Anton Sliev to New Jersey, like,
could not believe he fell that far. Honestly,
yeah, I thought he was going
to. And Dickinson, really bro. Like,
yeah,
jeez.
Yeah, the thought of having a defense with Sliev, Nemec, and Luke Hughes and Seamus Casey, and they still have like Dougie Hamilton. Unreal, holy! And they're for like New Jersey is just like they're just so good. Like they're good now, and they have like prospects everywhere and elite ones at that. Like,
and we'll get into what they did in free agency because they certainly didn't hold back this offseason. Let's just put it that way.
And yeah, San Jose, winners of the draft. I mean, you got Macklin Celebrini 1st overall, but then getting Sam Dickinson at 11, who I'm also surprised dropped that far. Like, I really thought we were going to get like a heavy run on defensemen, kind of like how 2012 went, but a lot of more forwards went in the top 10 than I thought there was going to be. So, yeah, this is where the run on defenseman happens. Number 9, Herrick
I want to chime in real quick.
Yeah,
after the Dickinson pick, I went and watched the Steve Dangle's podcast live stream of the draft. Mm-hmm. Apparently, those Sharks fans that we walked into the stadium with were loud as shit.
Oh my god. We finally won something.
That's so funny.
My god, dude.
Dude, you could apparently hear them on the broadcast. Because, like, I hear the Dangle podcast, and they're like, yep, Sharks, the 4 Sharks fans are still going right now. Mm-hmm. Like, apparently he was right by one of the hard cams. That's crazy. Oh, my god.
Jeez, he wouldn't even have been close. They wouldn't have even been close to the cameras. The way they were going. We walked into the sphere, and they're like, go Sharks, go! We finally won something. And there's
like, and then there's a Vegas fan next to us, so they start getting into it, and it's just like,
and it's just like, yeah, but we got 1st overall though, and we beat you in 2019. Owned.
It was fun for the first like 3 minutes, and then we got stuck in line for like 10 minutes. I just like the Pierce. I was like, I got a headache, bro. Like, I think we were near like Trevor Conley's family, and they were getting super pissed. Like it was pretty funny. Yeah, fun times.
So yeah, there was a run defenseman, number 9, Zane Perrick, number 10, Slyaev, number 11, Dickinson, and San Jose. Again, Sharks winners of the draft.
Dude, and they got
I see why those fans were going crazy.
Dude, and they got Cheryshev 30 overall. Like
there you go.
Great draft by them. Great draft by Mike. Mike Greer is low-key knocked these last 2 drafts out of the park. Like,
oh yeah.
Like, cause I'm not gonna count 2022 for Greer because he just got there when they drafted like Bystedt and all that. But like the teardown, he's like a year behind Davidson's plan. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. We've been saying that, yeah.
But in a good way. Like Musty was fantastic. Like Musty and Smith are great picks last year, and I think they got Robble in the second round. You look at this year, they got Celebrini, Dickinson, and Cheryshev. Like that is 3 probably impact NHL players in the draft. Like you can't ask for a better draft, honestly.
Minnesota traded up 1 pick to get Z Boyum. Of course, it was Minnesota, but a great pick. Like we were hearing, Ducks were trying to they might have gotten them at 3. Like that's how highly it was thought of. But then he kind of had that Cam Fowler followers, like go all the way to number 12. But a great pick for Minnesota. Number 13.
Hold on, Boyum Faber in front of Wallstedt for the next decade. Bedard, you better come with your A game every time we play Minnesota. Yeah. Holy smokes, that's it. And then Brodeen Spurgeon, like that top 4 is going to be a lot of fun on the tail end of those 2's careers.
Number 13. I don't know if this is off the board again. Preface this by saying this draft I didn't follow as closely as I have in years past, but I feel this is the first frick where I'm like, I didn't see him going this high. Flyers taking Jet Luchenko at number 13, and Michael Bufford coming out to announce the pick. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, Jet Luchenko was a guy. Sorry, I was just gonna say Jet Luchenko was a guy I heard linked to the Hawks for pick 18 for a good bit.
Yeah,
seems like one of those high energy, like almost the way I want to describe him is like a higher end Paul Ledwinski when he was coming out of the draft. Like that's the type of player he is. Like he could be that Brandon Hagel. Like it seems like just like if Tija Ginla is like Costco, freaking Jet Luchenko is like Walmart. That's kind of where the tiers stack.
Yeah.
But it's fine because Walmart's great. So like
Walmart gets the job done.
Exactly. And you know, like
even if it's not Costco hot dogs.
I think the good thing about Luchenko is that they said like he still has offensive upside to give, and this guy was over point a game. So it's just like you might have a player on your hands, but also when you draft Mishkov the year before, you can kind of go off the board.
Oh no!
And honestly, Oliver Bonk had a really good year last year too in junior. I think he had like 25 goals, which is
that's pretty good for a defenseman.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. But yeah, you know, Luchenko, I think is going to be a guy that like we look back in 3 years and be like, that makes sense why I got picked there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Number 14, Constellaneous to Buffalo. Just another great Buffalo pick. Like, seems like they've been in this range like the past couple years, and they've gone Savoy, who they traded. We'll get that later, and then Zach Benson, who I can't believe they got him. Like, I think they got him at a 12,
13.
I can't remember, but 13, yeah. Like outside the top 10, you're still finding value, but Jacob hated it, so actually it's not a good.
Jacob hates his pick because he looks like Alex Nylander. It's the funniest thing ever. That's why I was laughing.
Then he's going to be traded for Sam Renzel, I guess. I don't know.
Get excited, Hawks Nation. Let's go.
Yeah, he was kind of like just looking at his offensive stats, what he did in Finland. Like he was a guy I wanted the Blackhawks to get at 18, but yeah. We talked about it already. Number 15, Branson Nygaard to Detroit, just the most Detroit pick ever. Yeah. Number 16, Adam Yurchek, even though he got injured, St. Louis still picked him at number 16.
Such a Blues pick.
Yeah.
Like, such a Blues pick. It's not even funny. You know, him and Theo Lindstein as a future pairing in the future, gonna be fun.
I don't know how to say his name.
Tarek Parasek.
Tarek Parasek. Okay, so that's how you say it. That's kind of the first name where I'm like, I didn't really hear about him that much, but then I looked at the stats. 105 points in 68 games in the WHL.
Apparently he just can't skate or shoot, but if you have 105 points, who gives a shit?
So he had 43. He had 43 goals in 68 games. Okay,
Yeah, but guys, he
might
can't
know how to
shoot.
shoot the puck.
Yeah, but guys, he can't shoot.
But I was told Steph Curry can't shoot threes or whatever it was.
Nah, like to just like prelude the Capitals, like they had a nice weekend. Let's just put it that way. That was a nice draft pick. I think they got someone in the second round too who was pretty good. I gotta look it up, but Washington had a very good weekend in terms of the draft.
We already talked about the Blackhawks getting Sasha Bovaert. Number 19, bit of a controversial pick. I mean, I totally get why Vegas. To me, this is.
I thought I was doing this to the Yzerman pick. Yeah, double thumbs down for Trevor Connolly.
Yeah,
sorry guys.
I was gonna say Vegas. I think they're just purely viewing the skill of Trevor Connolly and just being like, okay, we're gonna trade him because they do that with every first round pick. Like there have been like to kind of preface it for anyone that doesn't know, like. From I think it was Trevor Connolly. He was at school when he was like still a teenager. Put something like with Nazi stick. I don't want to like say the wrong words. Like I can put a link to the article. Or whatever.
I heard it earlier today. I don't want to misword either, but let's just put it this way: you should be making swastikas in high school. I don't care
exactly. That's a great way to put it.
Yeah,
you should know by then. But also like if he has changed, and I guess he's. I don't know. I don't want to talk too much about it. Yeah, seeing Cole Yzerman getting picked with the Islanders pick does hurt, but that's exactly what the Islanders need. They just need a swing like that. Get a player like Yzerman. And now we're kind of getting to the part of the draft where I don't know about these players as much.
Love Michael Hayes to the Habs.
That's a great pick. There was a possibility, and also thank God for the Islanders picking Yzerman because there was a possibility Montreal could have gotten Demidov and Yzerman.
I think it's funny because Montreal's draft is an alternate reality for the Blackhawks. I feel like there's a reality where the Hawks went fucking Demidov and Hage.
Demidov and Hage, yeah, that's a good point.
I love both those players for Montreal. That's such a good draft for them. Michael Hayes is a guy that I think if he could be a 3C behind Doc and Suzuki, that's a win. And then you got Demidov, who's going to be that top line right wing. Like that's such a good draft.
Slavkovsky and Demidov flanking Suzuki, or you split them up. Like
Montreal, and then Caulfield's still there. Like,
yeah.
They're gonna have a fun. Like that top six is gonna be so much fun, honestly.
And then you got Hudson and Reinbacher and Gooley on your blue. Like, Ken Hughes. When we use master.
Someone cooked it here.
Someone cooked it here. And really just getting to the point where I don't know these names. Yegor Surin to Nashville. I don't know.
Surin's actually got some good tape. I will say that. I watched a little bit of him. It's gonna be a guy we look back on 2 or 3 years and probably be like, wow, how'd that guy not go top 15? Because like I think the upside's there with his offensive game.
Stian Solberg to Anaheim. I was kind of low key. He was a guy I was keeping my eye on. I low key kind of wanted the Hawks to take him at 18. Just like I know you're picking 2 defensemen in the first round, but like Levshu-teuving and Solberg, like put Solberg and Vlasic together and like just have fun playing against that. Just violence, two big boys. You're not getting past them.
Yeah, of course, Solberg's games is nasty, especially putting him with Zellweger and Mitnikov on the left side. That's gonna be fun. And Solberg's got the type of game where you can put him on the right if it comes to that. So
Cole Beaudoin, I think that's how you say it, Beaudoin, to Utah. I kind of heard like not really high upside, but is kind of guaranteed to be like a third line center. Like he's going to be a center,
high floor.
Yeah,
it was the guy the Hawks I saw him linked to the Hawks at 34 or 35 whenever the Hawks were going to pick. That was when I would see him linked.
Dean Letourneau to Boston. I don't really know anything about him, but all I know is he is 6'8" and going to Boston College, right? So
6'8" and can shoot the puck. Welcome back to H. Thompson.
Bruins, we're gonna get into again more related. Like, we still have the rest of the first division, and then we got free agency and some trades to get into. But like Boston, this offseason was like, what if we became more of the Bruins? And they did that with that pick and the signings. They made free agency.
Dean Letourneau and Justin Brezzo on the same line. Get excited, Leafs Nation.
Number 26, Liam Gretry to the Kings. From what I heard, Liam Green traded really high offensive upside, but not a really good skater. So kind of fits the Kings' MO, to be honest. Number 27, obviously, the Blackhawks get Merrick Vanacker. Number 28, Matvey Gridin, who was a line mate of Sacha Boisvert. Don't know too much about him, but the Calgary Flames got him at 28. Emil Hemming to the Dallas Stars. Another Finn going to Dallas makes perfect sense. Number 30, I think this was a great pick by the New York Rangers, and kind of, to me, almost another K'Andre Miller pick. Like, just looking at the Rangers defense now, how young it is with Adam Fox and Braden Schneider on your right side, and then you have Miller and Lindgren. The thought that they could add EJ Emery in there later with like the physical, like, I don't know how high of an offensive upside he has, but he's a great skater and just like a great athlete. I love that pick for the Rangers. He was another guy I was hoping, like, if the Blackhawks had gone Demidov at number 2, like that was a defenseman I would have wanted him to go after at 18.
Oh, 100%. Emery's game is going to fit perfectly in New York right now, especially once Trouba departs eventually, whether that's through free agency or trade.
Or to Detroit or Buffalo.
Yeah.
Hasn't happened yet. What did you think about Matvey Gridin to Calgary? I brought up his name. I remember you talked about it later. He was a line mate with Sacha Boisvert. Like, what's his game like? What kind of player
Dog.
is he?
He's got a cannon of a shot.
He's like, a dog.
He is. So like the thing with that Muskegon team is that like none of them were fast, but like when the puck's on their stick, they're making plays constantly. Like I go watch Sacha Boisvert's highlights. You're just gonna hear Boisvert and the defenseman kind of like bouncing the puck around, and then they just pass to the gradient, and he just bombs one on net.
Okay,
like,
38 goals, 60 games, and 83 points. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
stats aren't everything, but yeah.
Let's put it this way: he's like what we all wanted Denis Gurianov to be. That's kind of how I see his game. And if he can hit his ceiling, that's like a 60 point NHL player bare minimum. He hits his fucking ceiling. So and then they got Basha in the second round. Like Calgary's draft was all around incredible.
But they're not rebuilding.
Yeah, whatever.
He's not being a con man. Finally, like he's doing something. Number 31, get excited, Leafs Nation. Ben Danford. I don't know if you have any thoughts on him.
I didn't watch much tape on that guy, so I can't say much.
But a right-handed shot defenseman from Ontario. Your Leafs uncle, uncle who's a Leafs fan will love that pick. And then the Oilers with the last pick moving into the first round at 32. I don't really get that. That's probably the one move Jeff Jackson's made so far where I'm like, I don't quite get that. They get Sam O'Reilly from the London Knights.
Yeah.
I don't really have any thoughts on him. Don't really know much about him, but
yeah, I don't like trading your 2025 first to get someone at 32, but that's
yeah.
Didn't they do this a couple years ago and they traded that guy for Matthias Ekholm? So Reed Schaefer.
That is true. So we'll still use that as currency, but I feel like having that 2025 first would be more of an attractive piece than
100%. How else are you going to get another Adam Henrique?
What are some of your favorite picks outside the first round? Now that we've wrapped up the first round.
Yeah, I Cheryshev to San Jose. I love Badinka. I think both second round picks that Carolina had with the trade they made with the Hawks were very
Carolina
good.
always does that. They always get the best players like beyond the first round. They trade back and get quantity, but get all the good players at the same time. That's how they do.
I like Tanner Howe to Pittsburgh. I think that was
Of course, Dubas stole it from Arcade.
Kyle Dubas stealing my thunder as usual. How could the Liberals do this? This is so terrible. No, but I like that pick as well. I think Nabokov was a really good pick by the Avs, like underrated.
Yo, welcome back, Evgeny Nabokov. That's crazy.
Exactly. Oh,
he's a goalie too,
freaking
right?
Ryder Ritchie to Minnesota. Like I gassed up Ryder Ritchie all year. Cole Hudson to the Capitals was another good pick. I'm like looking at the draft now, so I can actually see like which picks I like.
Minnesota had a good draft, I think. Boyum, Ritchie, and Kiviharu. Not bad.
Oh, great draft. I think as well. Jesse Polkadin to the Islanders, like it's another good pick by them, I think.
They had a pretty good draft too. Don't say
Dude,
that often about them,
honestly, which is crazy because, like you said, that's not the case. You know, I think Alexei Protas' brother got drafted, which is fun. But
the Capitals, right?
Yep. and they drafted what's his name? Miroslav Shatan's kid.
Oh my god.
That's a fun time.
Caps are just trying to be menaces for real.
But yeah, honestly, I think those are the picks that I like the most. I didn't really look at much past the second round, so I think those are the guys that I think stuck out the most to me. I think Luke Misa fell a lot lower than I thought he'd fall. Calgary got him in the 5th round. That was a guy I thought that could easily go in the 2nd round, but fuck do I know? I'm not a scout. but yeah, that those are probably the guys I think that were great steals.
That's it for the draft, unless you got any closing thoughts. The Blackhawks, like we know with the Bedard pick that they got, you can't screw that up. You can't really even screw Levshu-teuving up, but you got to find value outside like the top 10, even top 15 range. Like Oliver Moore can be even a middle 6 contributor. That's still a great pick at 19. Same with Sasha Bover. Merrick Van Acker could be a 3rd line. Like that's also a great pick, but you also need one of there's going to be the possibility that one of them doesn't pan, but you also need the possibility that one of them could be a superstar. Like Kyle Davidson brought up the Dallas model and how they've gone about doing things. And the main thing I took away from that quote and how Davidson talked about the Stars and how like they let their prospects overripen in the minor leagues and then they call them up. That's what they did with Thomas Harley. That's what they did with Logan Stankoven. All I took from that is that if Kyle Davidson was running the 2021 draft, they would have drafted Stankoven. But I digress. Yeah, you need you can. It's easy to nail those high end picks, but you need to find value like late in the 1st round, beyond that, the 2nd, 3rd round, and from all the sounds of it, like when they draft in the 1st round, like they swing for the upside, but then once it gets to like the 2nd or 3rd round, they just look for guys with speed. So hopefully some of them pan out. That's drafting. We'll take a few years to find out if which right pick was rich. But yeah, overall, I'm optimistic, very optimistic, and like excited for this draft class and how Kyle Davidson has drafted these past few years.
100%. I mean, 8 first-round picks in 3 years, and
they still have another 2 next year.
Yeah, and I don't think there's a complaint with any of the first-round picks they've had after you start watching tape.
No.
It's the guy that knows what he wants and he's going to get it. And I think that's a good thing when you look at the GM for your hockey team, especially with the position the Hawks are in with having Bedard.
Yeah. So that's it for the draft. Spent about an hour on that. And now we're going to move on to free agency because holy shit, free agency was crazy. I would even say Nutter Butters. I find it so funny that like everyone signed within the first day, and then like once it hit day 2, just tumbleweeds, nothing.
That's how it worked last year too, I feel like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But this year was crazier because there was so much drama heading into it, like seeing what was happening with Steven Stamkos and Oh, I forgot about the fucking trades that happened. So like no trades happened in the first day of the draft besides like pick swapping. But then the 2nd day of the draft, Utah woke up. Bill Armstrong now actually with some money got Mikhail Sergachev from he got a top pairing basically, got Sergachev from Tampa and then got John Marino from New Jersey. Holy shit. Yeah. Bravo, man.
Tidy business.
Shit.
Like, oh no, you lost Connor Geeky and JJ Moser in a second. Like, why? It's not fair. I thought they were going to get Pesci too at one point, so I was just like, oh my god, I thought they were going to get Montour, not Pesci. But it's just like they rebuilt that defense overnight. Top 4 now is, if I could name it off the top of my head, I'm pretty sure it's Sergachev, Marino, Valimaki, and Dursey. Like that's solid. And then they have I'm missing a defenseman in there somewhere, but like top 4 is not what it was 2 years ago, which is garbage. This is a forward core that is just only getting better. Gunther is, I think,
Their
21
forward
now.
core is very underrated. I think.
100%. You got Keller, Schmaltz, Krause, all current NHLers that can contribute. Cooley and Gunther are just scratching the surface. Michelli had 60 fucking points last year. I don't think people talk about that enough. I gave Ian crap in the Sheet League chat like a year ago. I was like, yeah, Matias Michelli got a bunch of assists, whatever. But like this year, he took another step. So like this guy might be an actual NHL player.
They also signed Ian Cole, who's a decent third pairing guy.
Yeah, like you need those. You need those type of players. And Utah's going to be in a position where they're not going to be a pushover every night, which I think is good for the league. And according to the schedule, the Blackhawks play them opening night in Utah. So that's going to be so much fun.
And with the schedulings, their home opener is on my birthday, and they play Sharks, so they'll be celebrating versus Bedard on my birthday.
We should go to that
just
game.
for me. Oh, I wish. Maybe I got to make a flight out of Chicago on my week of my birthday. I guess
literally, I'll buy the Hawks tickets as a present. Come on, man.
We'll discuss that afterwards. Just looking at Utah's lines right now, like this is probably not gonna how they're gonna set it up come the season. But first line Keller, Hayton, Schmaltz. Second line,
I forgot about Barrett Hayton, bro. Barrett Hayton's solid too. Dang.
Like he's not fifth overall good where he's drafted, but like that's a middle six guy.
Yeah, he's not fifth overall good. But
third line, Matias Michelli, Nick Bukestad, and Josh Doan, baby. Let's go. And then fourth line forward, Alexander Kerfoot with Jack McBain and Kevin Stenlund, Stanley Cup champion.
They got Stenlund. I didn't even know that. Nice.
Yeah.
That's
and
a good
then their
pickup.
defense, Sergachev. So they have it as Sergachev, Dursey, Valimaki, Marino, Cole, and Kesselring. So that's actually a good way to kind of spread it out. But they could also go Sergachev, Sergalicious with Marino.
Sergalicious. And then they got Ingram and Vejmelka, who are both great goalies.
They could compete.
Man, Utah's not going to be a pushover. That's for sure.
No, I think they'll compete for a wild card spot.
100%.
Like I could look. Like, I could see them being like 40 wins next year.
I mean, hell, they started the season off pretty good this year. The talent's there. They just need to find the consistency, and hopefully new ownership can bring that out of them. Because, it'd be awesome if the first year Utah has a team, they make the playoffs just to show fuck you to freaking their old owner in Arizona.
Yeah, Alex Morello or whatever his name is. I don't even
Alex
Rest in piss,
bozo. Get him out of my face, bro.
Own. But yeah, Utah stole day 2 of the draft. I don't know. Like,
the Caps did too, bro. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, and the Caps, 100%.
I think I woke up to the Sergachev trade when we were in Vegas, but like the Chicker trade happened shortly after.
Okay, so when we were in the hotel room, I was sleeping. I like woke up and checked my phone. I'm like, holy fucking shit, Sergachev got traded. You like roll over your bed. And you're like, what?
Well, I was up at 5:30 because like my job, I'm up at 7 on the East Coast every day, 6 almost, and we're on the West Coast. But like I got up for a little bit.
I'm usually up very early, like 5, 6 o'clock. Like even on my off days, I'm off at like up at like 7, 8 at latest. But like I was so like tired from just being in Vegas. Like Vegas is, I love it. So hot, but it's a lot.
It's like Disney World.
I just need to rest.
It's a lot of walking. Exactly. It's a lot of walking. But so much fun. Lost a lot of money, but that's not the point. I saved up.
I mean, that's the whole point of Vegas, though. Am I right?
Oh, it's the experience. And also we got some great food there. I got to show you In-N-Out for the first time, which was still like, I'm not gonna lie. The first time I had In-N-Out, it wasn't that good. This time we got it like fucking fresh, and it was good. It was really good. Like that burger hit so good. And then we went to Smith and Walensky. I wanted to take Pierce to freaking Din Tai Fung, but I couldn't. I was so sad.
Next time.
The dumpling, like if we ever go to Vegas again, I'm just gonna set the appointment like as soon as we book our flights because it's such a good dumpling place. Like these soup dumplings they have, they're amazing. Went to Fat Tuesdays, showed Pierce some great frozen alcoholic drinks, had some nice daiquiris. I think next time we go to Vegas, we should just chill by the pool, honestly. Go to like the Flamingo or something and just chill by the pool. I think that'd be a good time. But Vegas is a blast. Yeah, I don't know how we got back to the draft, but such a fun time. Like it's great because like the last 3 years we've gone to the draft, and every draft has been a completely different experience, which I think is so cool.
Yeah,
like Nashville was
and
a
different
giant
parts
party.
of the continent as well. Like we were in Montreal, then Nashville, and now Vegas. Like all different cities
For sure, and completely different cultures too, which is what I love.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, seeing the cathedrals in Montreal, breathtaking.
Yeah.
Like even if they were under construction, breathtaking. Nashville,
Montreal is such an old city. Like
I loved it.
some of those places are like centuries years old. Yeah.
And then you got like Nashville. It was just a giant block party all weekend. It was a Blackhawk block party. Like, how much fun could you have as a Hawks fan? Went to the Dangle podcast live show. Like, that was a bunch of fun to get to finally meet Steve, Jesse, and Adam, and get to talk about how we've been watching them for almost a decade, which like really set into me last.
It's more at this point, yeah.
Dude, it's crazy how long we've been watching these guys and how long.
I'm pretty sure I started watching Steve Dangle in 2011, and like I pretty much listened to the podcast from like in its inception, but I'm pretty sure it was 2013. So over half my life for both cases, pretty much.
Yeah, it was great to finally like be able to show just how much like it's just always so weird showing your gratitude to people like that, because it's just like you see them in like in a way it's just like, yeah, you've helped me through so much stuff just watching your videos. And then you tell that to them and they're just like, that's crazy. Like when we told that to Steve, he was like, yeah, I've been watching since 2013, and Steve just went, fuck. Like, he was more like him realizing how long he's done it, but it's just like I don't know, man. Like it's great. Those are great people, and they deserve all the good that's happened to them. And then Nashville is this giant party. The fact that the Hawks rented out the bar right next to Bridgestone is so cool. Like, are you kidding me?
Only they could do that, really.
No, honestly, like if Anaheim won the lottery, not a chance in hell they're doing that shit.
No.
Like,
only Blackhawks could do that. Yeah.
There's no way. And then Vegas is just it's a spectacle. There's no other way to describe it.
Dude, Vegas is Vegas. Like, yeah.
Dude, second you get there, it's awesome. I remember we rolled up to the stadium and I was just like, oh, Leon Draisaitl's on the screen. This is sick as fuck. Connor Bedard just scored the Michigan on the Sphere. That was awesome.
To which I said to Leon Draisaitl, oh, so nothing was on the screen.
Dude, I actually started getting scared going up the escalators in the Sphere. Because like,
bro, I thought I think I was tripping a little bit because of the edible.
It was that, but it was also just like, dude,
it's surreal, man, and it's so big
to get to our seats. And I'm looking, and I'm just like, dude, if this breaks, I'm dead. Like,
where we sat, it was like I thought we're far away up, and then we like looked behind us, and
there
were just like rows and rows. Like we were one of the more closer like rows to the stage, if anything.
Yeah, dude. Like I want to see it. Like I think I told you many times. Like, dude, a Bruno Mars concert there would be so cool.
Any concert. You know that scene, I think it's Toy Story 2, where like Buzz Lightyear goes to that aisle with all the Buzz Lightyear toys. He just sees one and then it just like expands out. You're like, that was me at the Sphere.
When they started putting all
like
the draft prospects on the Sphere.
Yeah.
Oh man, such a fun time though. Such a fun time. I met some of the Chicklets crew there when I went to go take a piss and get another beer, which was cool. I met Ryan Whitney and all them. That was nice. It's crazy that they were in the same section as us. You'd think they'd be in like a box or something because of their relevance to hockey, but that's a Bettman thing, not me. Also, I'm pretty sure we were like 5 seats from Don't Be Saw 20. We just like we were definitely in the same section from the pictures I was seeing. It just tells you how big that arena was. Like it was surreal, honestly. It's a completely different experience.
That's the best way to describe it. Surreal, man.
It was surreal, honestly. Like I go back and watch those videos and I'm just like, holy fucking shit. Like this is like it's the middle of the day.
Like the graphics, I wish like there could have been a big trade so we could see like the trade alert with like the.
Could the Chikrin trade have happened? Could the Sergachev trade have happened like the night before? Like I don't know what made him wait a day to do that shit.
Yeah.
But just also, do it on night one.
The most disrespectful thing for the Hawks. Here are the top 3-point getters for the Blackhawks.
Fucking Bedard, Kurashev, and Foligno, bro. Actual bullying in 2024. I can't believe this. This is insane.
In the big 2024. Who has it worse than us? Who has it worse
Who
than
has it
us?
worse than the Blackhawks, bro? We said this all weekend. Oh god, fun.
So yeah, Washington makes some moves. Of note, like Logan Thompson was there signing stuff for Vegas fans, but when he got traded, but apparently like they notified him the day before and still went anyways. So that just like that sounds like a great guy, Logan Thompson. And now Washington has two right-handed catching goalies with Lindgren and Thompson. So that's cool.
Two right-handed
yeah,
goalies, by the way.
That's what I just said.
Oh, sorry. I'm stupid.
You're good. You're good. And then I think a couple days before the draft, they got Mangiapane from Calgary for second.
Yep. Solid.
But I don't get this one. I mean, good for Washington, but Buffalo paid like I think the 40th pick for Beck Mallenstein. I don't get that, but
that was the Cole Hudson pick too.
Yeah, unreal. And then the next day, like they've kind of what Utah did, like they revamped their whole defensive core. They signed, they traded for Jake Chikrin for a pretty low. Like I was looking at them, like why couldn't the Blackhawks have done that? But I mean,
there's a reason maybe that's like this is the reason the Hawks were in on Chikrin at one point because the market apparently was not there from what it sounds like. Sorry,
I think I would guess the Senators were wanting to get a first round pick for Chikrin and it just never materialized. And they just like, okay, let's get Jensen a third, I think. Was their thinking.
The Jacob Desperate Pierre Dorian will forever be remembered as one of the dumbest GMs of all time. Like, and the craziest thing is he had two phases of that. Ottawa gave him two phases of being desperate. Because you can go back to the Duchesne trade, and you can go back to the Chikrin and DeBrincat trades. It's desperation. Trying to speed run a process that was not there. And hopefully, like, they're on the right path, but
they still have, like, a fun core of, like, good players. Like, I want to see Ottawa do well. It's just, like, they mess it up, and then their fans are annoying about it.
Yeah.
Like 3 years in a row, it's felt like, oh, we've won the offseason, but we see it not only in hockey, but other sports.
They won the offseason with Dominic Kubalik.
Yeah. We've seen in sports in general, just because you make these big, flashy signings and trades in the offseason doesn't guarantee you're going to be a good team the following season. So, looking at Washington's lineup kind of with Utah and kind of like looking at the Metropolitan Division, I think not only could the Capitals make it back to the playoffs, like they could get like a divisional spot. First line, Ovechkin, Strome, Wilson. Second line, McMichael, Dubois, Mangiapane. Third line, Sonny Milano, Hendricks Lapierre, and Taylor Radish, baby. Let's go. Biggest move by them. And then their fourth line, Duhame, Nick Dowd, and Alexei Protas. Their defense is actually pretty solid now. First pairing Chikrin, First pairing Chikrin, Carlson. Second pairing Sandin and Matt Roy. Alternate universe Maple Leafs right there, and then bottom pairing Ferravari. That's how you say it. And TVR, and then their goalies are Lindgren and Logan Thompson.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about this because this is kind of if we were in that set alternate reality, this is how I would have wanted the Hawks to attack the end of Taves and Kane. You know what I mean? Like we talked about it for years. Like they just didn't know how to put a supporting cast around these two, and that's a Bowman thing. But like, look at what even the Penguins. The Penguins are being pretty.
Oh, Capitals have done way better than what the Penguins or Capitals have done way better than the Penguins. Yeah,
I guess it might be just a complacency thing too, because like the Pens have 3 cups, so Washington has. It's like fuck, we need another one. Why not? I don't know. It really is interesting though, to say the least.
I don't think they're winning a cup, but to me, this is Operation Get Ovechkin to get Gretzky's goal record and like get back to the playoffs, so playoff tickets, which I think is what's going to happen.
Yeah,
if that's their goal. They succeeded. Like I think they can. Like I just look at the Metro and I'm not that impressed. Besides maybe the Rangers, I think the Hurricanes have taken a step back. I'm trying to think right now, like the Islanders don't like. I look at pretty much every team in that division, other than the Rangers. I'm like kind of just mid, really.
Yeah, they should be third in the division, and if they're not,
Mhm.
that's a shame.
Yeah.
They're either going to be third in the division or they're going to be the 2021-2022 Blackhawks. There's no in between.
Oh,
Do with that
there is
information what you will.
there is the possibility where that could go south and they just come out of the game or out of the gate so horrible.
6 more years of PLD if he doesn't bounce back.
Like, I still like. I don't think because I think that what they want to do is just get Ovechkin to break the goal record and make it back to the playoffs. But it's like I was thinking a couple times this offseason, like with some teams that made these moves, I'm just like, I respect your delusion. I don't even think it's a delusion so much for the Caps because I think they know exactly what they want to do. But it's like I respect, like, you're not going to win a cup, but you're also not going to bottom out, which I don't. Like, for me, that's not a great place to be in the NHL. Like, I think you're either winning big or you're losing big to help win big in the future. But I respect the thought, the mindset of that from the Capitals.
100%. Yeah, I it just shows that they want Ovi to break that record. Like, even if it's, and if they don't extend Chikrin, oh well, at least they tried.
And they didn't even give
you
up
gave
that
up
much
Nick
for
Jensen
him
to do it. Like, it's not the end of the
They
world.
still got Marishnichenko, Ryan Leonard might sign, but like they got help on the way. Like they're not going to be bad anytime soon, I don't think. So, those were like two of the teams I thought big, not only big trades but also big signings. There were some other teams that made big signing, especially this team. Do you want to talk about the Blackhawks first, or do you want to talk about the other teams and then talk about the Blackhawks?
Your call.
Because the Blackhawks were pretty aggressive. You know what? Fuck it. Let's talk about the Blackhawks. So, I think it was like a couple of days or a day before the draft. Kyle Davidson was like, "We don't expect to make any big moves," and like Taylor Hall and Andres Athanasiou are going to be our free agent signings. And I just remember seeing that and like, okay, like there's no way they think that. Like that has to be as a way to kind of temper. Yeah, exactly. Smoke screen. Like there's no way Kyle Davidson truly thinks that. And that's what happened. Like, oh, like that's what happened. All it was a smoke screen because I think the day before free agency, like we didn't really hear much on like what the Blackhawks or like any specific players they were targeting. Like we guessed like they were like what we said this whole entire time. Like they're gonna get forward support for Connor Bedard. They were gonna get another defenseman, another top four defenseman, and then maybe get another goalie. And they did more than that. So I think the night before free agency, I think it was Jay Rosehill tweeted out like 4 years, $5.5 million AAV for Tyler Bertuzzi, and that ended up being true. Probably their biggest move of the day. I'm honestly surprised Kyle Davidson didn't do this last year because looking at the contract for Bertuzzi, he signed at 5.5 for 1 year last year to Toronto and signed for the same AAV this year. So he basically like just extended that contract, but now he's playing in Chicago with Connor Bedard. Tyler Bertuzzi, like he's probably going to take some dumb penalties. He's probably might get fined a couple times. He might even get suspended, you can, like you can never fault this guy for taking a shift off. Like he's basically Andrew Shaw plus, I would say, like just an incredibly agitating player, a guy who's going to go to the front of the nets. Like, yeah, again, you can question the discipline sometimes, even the defense, but like you're never going to be able to, question his work ethic. Like, I think putting Bertuzzi with Bedard, like I think there's a potential for a 30-30. I love the signing. Not only like is he good offensively, is he going to help out Bedard a lot, but he's also going to help out Bedard when people try to go after him. It's not only Nick Foligno now, it is also Tyler Bertuzzi who's going to be on the ice a lot more than Nick Foligno and should be than Nick Foligno. And when Bertuzzi's not on the ice, Foligno can do that, and so can Patrick Maroon. Love the Bertuzzi signing. Like at first I was like, 4 years, but like Bertuzzi is a bit younger, like 4 years. It's not my money. The cap hit I have no problem with. They needed to spend money. They needed to do this. I love the signing. And I think quickly Blackhawks fans are going to come to love Bertuzzi.
100%. The fact that I had to talk Rose into why this is a good signing was kind of frustrating because I was just like, how could you not see the
Well, you watched him on the Leafs, that's why. That's
well, no, she didn't watch the Leafs this year. So she didn't see that the second half of the year, it was literally Domi, Matthews, Bertuzzi just going ape shit on everyone they played. Like, this is a guy that knows his role and knows how to play it very well. He's done it with Larkin in the past. He's done it with Matthews the last year and Tavares for a good majority of the season. I think I've talked to you about this immensely, how important having a net front presence on the power play is. Dylan Strome kind of filled that role for a couple of years, but like Tyler Bertuzzi is going to give you a legit net front presence on the power play. Like, all it's going to take is Bedard to just throw some crap on net, and Bertuzzi's going to go rake in that rebound no matter what. Like, this guy is tough as nails, sticks up for his teammates. Yeah, he takes a dumb penalty. Yeah, he might be lackluster on defensive coverage. Who gives a shit? We want him on the top six to score goals. That's why he's here. He's not here to be the tough guy. If he could be the tough guy also, cool, whatever. Like, that's a bonus. But, like, I just want him here to score goals and be healthy and bring the most out of Bedard. And what better, like, this is like their Lucic signing if Lucic was, not signed.
Good, owned. No,
yeah, that's and younger. But
I didn't even think of that. That's actually a great comparison. Like, just yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's not even going into who they signed next, which you can delve into that because they had a couple other signings as well.
Yeah, kind of looking at Bertuzzi's stats over his career, his first breakout season was 18-19 with the Red Wings, 47 points, 73 games, 21 goals. Next season after that, on the 1920 Red Wings, who were god-awful, one of the worst teams in recent memory in the NHL, still had pretty much similar stats, 21 goals, 27 assists for 48 points. Next year, only played 9 games in the 2021 shortened season, bubble season, but still had 7 points in 9 games. This is the big year, 2021-22. 68 games, 62 points, 30 goals, 32 assists. Like, if you can get that from him in an 82-game season, that would be amazing. Last year, got traded from Detroit to Boston. I really thought he was going to stay in Boston because, I mean, Bertuzzi would he is a Boston Bruin, but we have him as a Blackhawk now. Like 30 points in 50 games in the 2022-23 season. And then last year, 43 points, 80 games, 21 goals, 22 assists. So that seems to be kind of like an average from like 21 goals. And then I was mentioning how his career high is 30 goals, 32 assists in 68 games. I feel if he can be in between, like if he can give them 25 goals, 25 assists and like play most of the season, I think that's still great. On to the next signing. Pretty much the antithesis to Tyler Bertuzzi as a player, but so as of in recent years, a lot of the times a popular thing to do now is reboot TV shows from old TV shows. And a lot of the times, like, it's all nostalgia, but rarely do they ever deliver. I look at the old regime. Stan Bowman would always bring back old Blackhawks players, but it would never work out. You get the nostalgia first. And it's like, oh, it's cool to have them back, but then you actually see them play. It's like, they're not good. They're kind of over the hill, washed. To me, this is the rare instance where, well, it's a different regime. This player last played a game for the Blackhawks 8 years ago. Like, he's been without the organization for almost a decade now. This guy's going to be 30 next year. The Blackhawks getting Teuvo Teravainen for 3 years at $5.4 million. Same thing with Bertuzzi. Didn't get his cap hit raise, was 5.4 like last year, and basically just got extended for 3 years to come back to Chicago. And like I said, antithesis to Bertuzzi, where Bertuzzi is this rambunctious power forward, going to go to the net. Teuvo was just a very quiet, steady, now veteran presence. Still a very good playmaker, very good defensively. Like, he might get some penalty killing time. And playing in Carolina, he was this crazy forechecker, as you have to be with Rod Brendamore. And, maybe isn't as good as offensively as he was, like, maybe a couple of years ago, but had a career high in points, 25 goals. And It's funny we talked about Dylan Sekira, 20 goals, 40 assists. I think that's within the realm of possibility for Teuvo Teravainen to do, and it's not far off from the kind of production he has had in years past. So it's so crazy to think like how long Teuvo's been gone from the organization. Like he's more of a Hurricane than he is a Blackhawk, but the thought like he can come back, like he won a cup at age 20, but he can come back and potentially finish the rest of his career and like win a cup with guys like Bedard and the other coming up and be part of like a second part of the Hawks dynasty. That thought is so cool, and I'm so glad Teuvo's back. Great signing. All the
100%.
signs they made were great.
100%.
Can't you tell I'm gushing at the nostalgia right now? Like the rare instance where it's like not only is nostalgia in play, but like he's actually good.
Yeah, man. Like, I think Brody exposed me from a couple months ago because I was just like, I don't think Teuvo's coming home. There's no way. And it sounded like as soon as that opportunity presented itself, it was pretty much set in stone that was going to happen. And I think the term was right. I think the price was right. I think that, like, we talked about the power play earlier. You're looking at a power play right now. This is how I'm imagining it, at least. You're going to have Seth Jones at the point. You're going to have Bedard left circle. You're going to have Teravainen right circle. Hall or Kurashev's going to take that bumper, and then you have Bertuzzi on the front. Like that's going to be a power play. It may not be the best power play in the league, like some people want, but like they're going to score.
Get a few goals, I think. Yeah,
it's going to be better than their putrid ass power play was this year. I'll tell you that.
It can't be. It can't even be. That's how bad it was.
I think one thing about Teravainen's game that doesn't get stated enough is this guy has a killer one-timer. And he's very accurate with his shot, especially the last couple seasons. Health is a little bit of a concern, but also like I just think this is a player that could like the guys I wanted when we talked about this all the time. I was like, yeah, DeBrusk and Joshua would be awesome, which is what Vancouver ended up doing. Yeah. But also like I didn't think that they were going to be able to go after a Bertuzzi or get a Teravainen to even think to come over here. Both incredible signings. Like you can go so many different ways with your top six now with that. Like I think Bertuzzi and Teravainen should be on Bedard's wings.
Yeah, I think that's what they're gonna do, but they have like the depth now and the players to switch things around. It's not like, oh, we gotta go to Rockford now and call guys up. Like they have guys that they can shuffle around.
Yeah, guys, we gotta glue Taylor Radish to the second line. Like guys, like, they're gonna have options now.
That's the Caps problem now.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he's not even gonna get in the second line on that team, so he's going to have the role what he should have, which is bottom six penalty killer, which is what he's good at, and that's okay. But the Teravainen signing was a genuine nice surprise. And, you know, once Friedman said, like, he predicted that was what was going to happen, I was like, okay, that kind of sets it in stone. But, like, you just see
the Rangers were heavy in on him, so it was cool to get him from the
That's crazy. You just need to see it to believe it. You know what I mean? Like, shit, they outbid the Rangers. How about that?
Yeah. And also Bertuzzi trying to collect all the original 6 Infinity Stones, Detroit, Toronto, now Chicago. Halfway there.
Get ready to learn Montreal in 2 years, buddy.
When he gets traded for
or get ready to learn Ranger.
Demidov. Woo, let's go. Bertuzzi for Demidov. Lock it in.
Nah, it's gonna be Bertuzzi for like Owen back.
I don't mind that. Anyways, Bertuzzi and Teuvo, both like complete opposite players, but like similar age and can
also another good penalty killer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, Teuvo and Bertuzzi, at least to start the year, they should be stapled to Bedard. They got defensive depth too, man. This Kyle Davidson love turning the knife on Blackhawks fans. Last year he got Corey Perry, and now this year he got Alec Martinez. And again, there's all the memories of the past. That was 10 years ago, but like just looking at it, Alec Martinez 1 year, that's a great signing. To me, again, the big thing with these signings is they want to be in Chicago. And that speaks to a lot of the guys that are in the locker room, mainly Nick Foligno, that have been putting in a good word. I heard like Connor Murphy did play like a bit of a part of that as well. But yeah, I mentioned it earlier, Nick Foligno, pretty much de facto captain and pretty much de facto assistant general manager now. I don't know how the defensive partners are going to shake out because they also signed TJ Brody, which I don't love that one. but because Brody is older, like if they signed him 1 year, I would have been fine with it. But again, it's still 2 years. That contract is going to be off the books by the time Bedard's contract is ELC is up, so that doesn't really matter that much. And they have the depth, which is all that matters. Like there's probably going to be only one room for one rookie defenseman, and I would think Korchinski has the leg up on that. But also, if Korchinski struggles, I don't think they're going to hesitate at all to send him down to Rockford. Like the forwards, I think there's there's an infinite amount of combinations you can go, but I feel the defense it's a little easier. Like I think they go Vlasic Jones again. I'm thinking they probably go Korchinski Murphy, or maybe Korchinski Brody, and then like Martinez and Murphy on the third pairing. Like, yeah, it's not amazing, but like it's gonna make this team competitive, and you're not gonna be playing Jacob Magna with Kevin Korchinski and having to play Isaac Phillips and Louis Crevier a lot more than they should be playing. So I like the Martinez signing. The TJ Brody one, not so much, but then when I see that signing, it also makes me think, I wonder if Connor Murphy could be out on the move, maybe come the trade deadline, especially if Levshu-teuving is doing well and could be called, and then they potentially Sam Rizzo signs out of college.
Yeah. So here's my whole thing. I actually really like the Brody signing because
oh really?
Yeah,
Okay.
So like think about this for a second. When TJ Brody got initially signed in Toronto, the whole thing was they wanted to pair him with Morgan Riley. And they wanted to put him with Riley so Riley could be or basically play to the fullest of his game. And that was basically their top pair for like 4 years until this year. And then this year it started.
He kind of fell off a cliff, but didn't he have injury issues though?
He had injury issues. He had personal issues from what I've heard from Toronto media. And I just look at it and I'm just like, what better defenseman to play with Kevin Korchinski than a guy who's done it with a defenseman like that before? And Martinez has done it with Theodore too, to be fair. But also like,
yeah, you could put either one and probably be fine.
100%. But like, I just look at it like if your top six this year is Vlasic Jones, Korchinski, Brody, and then Martinez Murphy, solid top six. I think each pairing benefits themselves to their play styles. And I don't know, like it's worth the gamble to see if Brody can even get back to 75% of what he was. And if he can, that's going to benefit Korchinski's development so much, I think. Just to have that kind of safety net in a way that's different from Murphy, because they had different play styles. But I actually, the more I thought about that signing, the more I liked it. Because I remember when he signed it, I was like, fuck, okay, that makes things interesting. I thought it was going to be like Del Mastro making it out of camp or something. But it makes it to where the kids... It makes it to where, one, the kids have to earn their role, which is good. Because if they earn their role on this roster, that means that they're definitely NHL players.
They really earned it, yeah.
Exactly.
Come the weekend the way they earned it.
Yep, 100%. And then also, let's not sugarcoat it. Like, a lot of these guys they signed have not played full 82-game seasons. Granted, Bertuzzi finally did.
I was going to say, injuries, just by injuries alone, they're going to get, like, with Kyle, I said this with Kyle Davidson, you have to come into this offseason, like, with the mindset, oh, this is going to happen again. The same amount of injuries that happened last year is going to happen again, even though that's very unlikely.
I feel like that's why he made these moves, honestly.
Yeah.
Because, he realized last year, he was pretty conservative last year. I think he just got Donato, and then he did the Hall trade, but it was, like, in the Perry trade. But
he overcorrected it, which he should have done. Yeah.
You have to prepare for everything. And it, like, if we didn't have Bedard, I maybe would have been a little more okay with being passive. But you have one of the best prospects this game has ever seen. You need to put players around him.
You got to speed it up.
100%.
Yeah.
And
maybe
not
speed
even
it up isn't really even the right word, I would think. Like, you just got to give more help.
It's not even speeding it up. It's just, you know, it's softening the blow for your young talent. Like, you don't want a Buffalo situation. And Buffalo,
no.
Like, granted, the way they're doing it right now is kind of similar to how Edmonton did it back in the day. But I think they're doing it a little differently because, like, getting guys like Teravainen and getting guys like Brody and getting guys like Martinez, I think that's a little different than getting, Milan Lucic and Mike Camilleri. You know what I mean? Like, it's a little different. But it's going to lead to a very interesting training camp. I think it's going to be the most interesting training camp since 2021, honestly.
Yeah, just like looking at the team, like this is easily the most.
And Brossoit, we didn't even talk about Brossoit, bro. They got a legit 1B. Like, what was the biggest thing that caused half their losses?
He could be a 1A.
100%.
Like, there's a possibility he could take over Mrazek, and like love Mrazek. I think he's gonna have another great season, but like he played, I think 55 games last year. Like I don't think that's gonna happen again. Nor should. Like I think they're gonna go halfway down the middle split.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the hockey guy brought it up. They were like, this is probably Brossois' best chance to ever be a number one goalie. So what if he just takes the reins and runs with it? Like this guy has been a consistent 920 goalie as a backup. And Mrazek's shown he can handle the load. So if we're going to do it that way, like who's to say they can't go 45-35? You know what I mean? Like that could be the tandem this year. And we can't stress enough, Soderblom, like I want him to do well. He'll do well in Rockford with Comesso most likely. But like this guy lost them at least 10 games last year. And I can't stress that.
I just think like if they had Brossois last year, they probably win 5 more games. They easily win that St. Louis game with the Bedard goal. If
Brossois not picking top 5, that's for damn sure.
No, like they win at least 5 more games. Like they might even have 30 wins last year if Brossois was in there instead of Soderblom. And just looking at his stats, like he's played with Winnipeg. You're never gonna see Connor Hellebuck. The funny thing is he was with Vegas and looked like he was gonna be the number 1 goalie when Robin Lehner. I still don't know what's fully happened with Robin Lehner, but he was the starting goalie going into the 2023 Cup run for Vegas and won them the first round against Winnipeg. But then I think he got injured, and then Aiden Hill took it the rest of the way there and never looked back and lost it from him and went back to Winnipeg, had a really good year, analytically a really good year, but you're behind Connor Hellebuck. Now you come to Chicago.
It's like Winnipeg's defense is something great either. Like the system bonus runs is good, don't get me wrong, but like I don't know. I think this change might be kind of seamless for Brossois in a way.
Yeah, like just last 2 years, 927 save percentage last year and then a 927 the year before. The only thing is like he hasn't played much. Like he's never played more than 23 games. That's going to change this year unless he gets like severely injured. He's not going to be a 927. If his save percentage even drops down 20 points, like let's say it goes to a 907, that's still good. That's still where Mrazek was last year. And again, if you get that, like maybe not 910, but like a little lower than that, like that to me, that already gives like this team the floor, the potential to win 30 games. And if you add in the fact like they have a better defense, better offense, and you get your young guys to come up, like I don't think this team's gonna make the playoffs this year unless like everything has to go right for that to happen. But like I think they could be kind of like what Arizona was last year, where like they're holding in there for longer than you think they would have.
For sure. This is a team that if they're in the basement again next year, something had to have gone cataclysmically wrong, which knock on wood would probably mean 98 got hurt in some form. But this is a team that's they've set themselves up for contingencies, which is something they didn't do last offseason, which I can appreciate. 100%.
And like Kyle Davidson is. It might not sound great, but like Kyle Davidson is still learning on the fly too. Like I don't think you can't anticipate for that amount of injuries last year, but now he's learned, okay, now I got to get us way more depth in case that happens again. So like he's still learning on the fly too. And it's good to know, like it's one thing to make mistakes. It's another thing to repeat them. Like if you learn from that, like that's a lesson well learned, I suppose.
100%. It's building blocks for the organization, shows where the team wants to be, where they want to be, where they're going. I'm excited, honestly.
Also, like to a lesser extent, they signed Pat Maroon and Craig Smith.
They re-signed Joey fucking Anderson, baby. Get excited.
Let's go.
Ultimate shutdown line is going
analytical to darling Joey Anderson. Let's freaking go, man.
Now, like real shit, Mikheyev, Dickinson, Anderson's going to happen at some point this year, and I'm going to fist bump. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be great. Cannot wait.
Yeah, like just looking at what they've added, Brossois won a cup with Vegas. Martinez won a cup with Vegas, won 2 with LA. He has 3 cups. Pat Maroon has won 3 cups, went to 4 straight cup finals. And then Craig Smith and TJ Burry. Like they added in a lot of veteran leadership. And people were like, "Oh, that's too much at once." It's like, well, for one thing, all the guys that are over 30, like they're not signed more than 2 years. Like most of them are 1 year. TJ Brody is 2 years, but like worst case scenario, like he just gets injured and that doesn't work out. Like that's still going to be off your books by the end of Connor Bedard's ELC. Teuvo Teravainen and Tyler Bertuzzi, those are very much guys you sign for 3 or 4 years. Like they're not old, they're not young, but like they're in their late 20s. I think Table's gonna be 30 in September, and then Tyler Bertuzzi's gonna be 30. So like that's gonna be over when they're done 32, 33. And with the cap supposed to be going up, that's gonna be nothing, especially when Connor Bedard's new contract hits in. I love Lauren Brossoit. Like I think you convinced me on the TJ Brody signing. I do like I still don't love it, but like I like it. I guess I can say that now. Fuck, where was I gonna go? Like they didn't make like the huge flat, like they didn't go after Stamkos or Gensel, which honestly
Who did they got Stamkos?
Yeah.
That power play with Bertuzzi, Jesus Christ. And Taylor
like
Hall.
I think that would have been the thing. Like if they got Demonov, I think they would have been in the conversation for those names, but I am perfectly fine with what they did. Like I might even go so as far as to say like A+ free agency. Like maybe not A+, but A-, you know, very good.
For sure.
I think they're a winner.
Yeah.
Sorry, you go.
No, I think it was a very solid offseason. It's not what I expected them to do with the cap space, but
in a good way. Yeah.
They attacked it. They made the roster substantially better. They made the depth in the organization substantially better. There's not much more I could ask for in that regard.
A surprise to be sure, but a welcome one.
Exactly.
As one said.
Especially after, like you said, like when you see that Lazarus quote, you're just like, fuck. All right.
I'm like, there's no way. Like it was smokescreen. That's all it was.
Thank God.
Thank God.
Honestly. Could not have another offseason where your only move is Ryan Donato, bro.
Yeah. Honestly, I'll say this. Like to me, the biggest weakness right now with this organization, I said it earlier, with their drafting is the center depth. Like they're probably gonna get that filled soon. But like to me, if Frank Nazar can grab that second line center spot out of camp, like. And again, so many things got to go right for this team to make the playoffs. But like, if you get 9-10 goaltending out of Brossoit and Mrazek, your defense is solid. Bedard is still Bedard, takes another step and has more support around him. And Frank Nazar becomes like a second line center where he's kind of like Logan Stankoven from last year. And like, you still get Selke caliber third line of Dickinson. Like, I could see this team, like, again, I really don't want to say compete for playoffs, but like, get 30+ wins, 35 wins, and then maybe next year is when you're having the discussion of, oh, this team could sneak into a wild card spot.
Yeah.
But again, so many things got to go right, though. Like, so many, yeah.
That's why I'm just excited to see games get played. You know,
I'm genuinely excited to watch. Yeah,
I'm ready to see how the development works. I'm ready to see how this whole team gels together. I'm ready to see how Rockford works. Like, it's gonna be a fun time. Honestly,
like from top to bottom, like they have so much depth that we just got to watch it all play out now. I talked about Kyle Davidson learning on the fly. Like now Luke Richardson, like I don't think he's on the hot seat, but
this
like,
is show me season. This is show me season for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Like you have an actual NHL caliber defense, you have 2 NHL caliber goals, you have an NHL caliber forward lineup. Like I think he does succeed. Like this team played way more. I think the interesting thing to me is like how do they play mid-season? Because past couple of years it seems like they have a strong October, then like a solid November, but then they like taper off come December, January, and February, and then they like pick it back up in March and April. That's what it's felt like with Luke Richardson. I want to see how they handle the mid-season. That's the hardest part to do. Like it's easy to start the beginning of the season and play hard, and same with the ending of the season. I want to see how they play in the middle, like third of the season.
Yeah, let's not have a terrible December this year, guys. How about that?
Yeah. But yeah, to anyone complaining about the free agency, I see it this way. Like if everything just goes to shit and they get another top 3 pick, woo-wee, you got a top 3 pick. Like, and if you were picking outside the top 5, that means that your young players took a step. Yeah, progress. And those veterans are probably helping you, which means you can trade them at the trade deadline. Like, I don't see any downside to this unless I'm missing something here.
Yeah, I have to agree 100%.
Like, it'd be one thing if they're given, like, guys in their 30s, like, 5-6 years, like what we've seen with other teams.
Yeah,
like,
if they gave Bertuzzi and Teravainen 6-year deals, I wouldn't be thinking this. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, no, I feel Davidson like had the perfect compromise where like you didn't get the high end, but you didn't get crappy players. Like you got players that fit specific roles that are going to play in your top 6, play in your top 4, might even be your starting goalie, all with for reasonable prices and for reasonable term. Anyways, so speaking of players with crazy terms, there's a few teams I have listed down here. So I have Nashville, who made the biggest splashes of the day. Barry Trotz going nutter butters in the front office. Seattle, oh man, and then Boston, Edmonton. So those are 4 teams I have. I don't know if you have any other teams that kind of stood out to you as like maybe not winners, but big players in free agency, because a lot of the times big players in free agency means you can be the losers.
Yeah. You said Nashville. I think that's definitely someone that stuck out. Boston's another one that I think they were extremely aggressive. I'm going to be honest.
said this earlier. They became more of what they want to be. They become more Bruins than they were last year. Dude, they got Nikita Zadorov. 6 years a little long, but Boston, they don't care. They're trying to win now. Like I think they're still going to make the playoffs. Like, and getting Elias Lindholm as well. Again, like I wouldn't have done it for 6-7 years at that price, but he's going to help them win now. That's all that matters for the Bruins. They're trying to win and keep the window going, keep the window open.
For sure. And I think Edmonton had a very solid offseason getting Skinner and Arvidsson.
To me, Edmonton are the winners of the offseason. Other than them trading a first-round pick to get into the draft, which I don't really get, like that's as good as an offseason as you can have after losing a cup final and, the big talk being of Leon Draisaitl. He might not be back in Edmonton. Like that really helps calm the waters with what they've done. Like Jeff Skinner, 1 year, $3 million. The fact that people want to go to Edmonton mainly because they're a good winning team. Like Jeff Skinner chose Edmonton over Toronto, I'm pretty sure. Victor Arvidsson, I think, turned down like a few other teams to go to Edmonton. I think Matthias Ekholm helped him kind of get him over there. And then it's maybe not as lopsided a trade as I thought it was, but I still love them getting Matthew Savoie for Ryan McLeod. Ryan McLeod was a very useful player for the Oilers and has been for the past couple of years, but I think the big thing with him is like he's a big guy, but really doesn't use his size that much. Like he's a great skater, but he doesn't use his size and skating to try to get into the middle, and that has caused a lot of inconsistencies. Does that sound familiar to any particular players maybe that we had on the Blackhawks last year that might have signed with Washington? And getting back Matt Savoie, like on a ELC with the kind of production he's put up in the CHL, even his brief stint in the AHL, I think he was only like point per game in like 6 or 7 games. Like, I don't know if he's going to be on the team like right at the start of the year, but there's a possibility he tears it up, I think, in Bakersfield, comes up and plays a top 6 role, not only for this year, but for the next couple of years, all at ELC. I think that's a masterclass by Jeff Jackson. And yeah, Arvidsson, Skinner, like this is easily the best the Oilers have been in the McDavid Draisaitl era. And I said this so many times, if the Oilers couldn't win the cup, the best thing to happen to them was for Ken Holland to leave. And look what even like a month of not having Ken Holland as your general manager done. Easily the best this team has looked since you could argue Gretzky Oilers, like 80s, early 90s. I love what Edmonton did. And like obviously I'm gonna have a bias because I live in Edmonton, but I think they're better than they are last year, and a lot of people are picking them to win that kind of did what Florida did last year and win the cup. And right now that's what I think.
Yeah, I can't help but be happy with what they did with their forward core. I think Arvidsson and Skinner are tremendous signings. Savoie for the future is going to be hilarious. Like if that guy hits even like 50 points ceiling, that's such an L for Buffalo. But we're just not going to talk about that.
But I hate Jeff Jackson now because he traded away Xavier Bourgault to Ottawa.
I did see that, but yeah, he kept the whole shutdown line from the playoffs, and I think he got them
not even bring up the people they were signed and got them for cheaper prices. They kept Janmark, they kept Henry. Like Henrik, I'm pretty sure got offers from other team, but he wanted to stay in Edmonton. Connor Brown is like signed for cheap, like just masterful work to keep it together. Like their defense is a little weak, but like I feel if Broberg gets the chance, like he can help solidify that top 4. So I think they're still good. I think like they're favorites to win the cup still easily. And they're better than they were
100%.
last year.
Yeah, that's why they're one of my winners this offseason. I think Boston's another one, like I said. If I had to pick another one, in terms of short term, I think Seattle did some tidy business, but also long term,
I really
that's gonna
wanted Chandler.
suck.
Yeah, I was gonna say I really wanted Chandler Steele. I would have even done like 3-4 years at
I would have done
6.25.
5. 5 was my
But
cap.
7,
Signed him till he's 37. That's tough.
Yeah, that's gonna be rough. And maybe Montour to a lesser extent. Like I think he's gonna be better, but 7 years.
Montour and done on your power plays is gonna be gross for starters.
And maybe that's why they went with Catton, like just because they probably knew they were gonna have a good chance at saying Montour. I don't know.
Listen, if you knew you were gonna get Montour, that's cool. But like, I really thought like Parekh was like.
I still think they need more defensive help. Yeah, agreed. Again, like the biggest moves of the day were made by the Nashville Predators. So, what do you think of the whole Steven Stamkos saga of Tampa Bay trading away Sergachev, but then getting McDonough from Nashville, and then them trading for Gensel, but then getting rid of Stamkos? What do you think of that whole saga?
You could have done the Stamkos saga without trading Sergachev. Trading for McDonough, it fucks the whole thing up. And I talked to Nick about this. I've talked to my buddy Noah about this, who's a big Lightning fan.
Oh, are they? Is Nick a big Lightning fan? Did he shout out at a
Did he shout out for like Jack Finley or whoever the fuck got drafted in the 7th round? Fun times. But this is a situation that could have been avoided so bad. And like we saw the signs last training camp. Stamkos came in and said they'd never offer me an extension. That should have been the first red flag. And all of us kind of like just doubted it a little bit. But then you look at the track record of what the Lightning have done. They extend. If they like you, you're extended by July 15th.
Sergachev, Cirelli, Hagel, and
Chernak.
Other names. Yeah, Chernak, yep.
Also, I think maybe it wasn't supposed to come off like this, but signing Hedman to the exact same contract a day later is
it's a little
some
rough.
petty shit. Some petty shit. Also, lowballing Stamkos to $3 million a year. I don't care if you sign him to an 8-year deal. That's fucking disrespectful. Plain and simple. And I get what they're trying to do.
$5 million at least, like $5 million, 8 years. I feel they could have. The fact they didn't go higher, that's crazy to me.
Here's where I get hung up on their whole predicament, right?
Mm-hmm.
I get doing this to get your time, like your window, right? Because you're moving from Stamkos, who's 34, and Stamkos signed 4 years. So let's say he signed 4 years in Tampa if he did that. To Gensel for 7 years at 29. So you're getting Gensel's like prime 5 years on that deal, and in the last 2 you'll figure it out. I completely understand that if you kept Sergachev. Then you have that young core going in, and then Hedman's the only like main pillar you have left. But no, they went and got a 34-year-old defenseman for 2 more years. Like, I don't understand this thought process. They really did pull a late 2010s Blackhawks in this offseason. And that's not a good thing most of the time. Like, I think
I feel like they just swapped the chairs around, but ultimately didn't get better in their aging. That's what
you really better, like, now we're really going to see if those contracts are going to pay off, because you better fucking hope Cirelli can fit in as a 2C, because if he can't, he's not worth $6.25 million. 100%. Eric Chernak, like, you're going to have to stay healthy for 82 games and, do that for 8 years.
I would take Chernak too.
Perfect. They're going to have to figure that out with. I think the one thing no one's really talking about is what the fuck are they going to do with Brandon Hagel? Because the thing that made Brandon Hagel so good on that team was playing him with Point and Kucherov. I have to imagine Gensel's going to play with him now. So you're either going to knock points, this is what made the Lightning so fucking good. You could put Stamkos on a different line than Point and Kucherov, and he could produce. Maybe Gensel can do the same, but every position I've seen Gensel extremely succeed in is because he's with an elite centerman. Whether it's Crosby,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Whether it's Crosby, whether it's Aho. This time it's going to be Braden Point and Nikita Kucherov. Like, Hagel, Cirelli, all right, I'm not like, we're about to get into the nitty gritty because I actually like got a lot to say about this one. I need to look at daily faceoffs lines for the Lightning.
That's what I'm doing right now. Okay.
Thank you.
Here's what I
go through
the
them.
lines. Gensel, Point, Kucherov, fucking incredible. You could argue that
Nasty as fuck, probably top
line.
3 line in the league.
Second line, Hagel, Cirelli, Atkinson. Oh man,
this is 2018 Blackhawks. I don't like this.
Okay,
I don't like this.
Hagel, Cirelli, Atkinson would be an incredible third line, but
in 2019
shows you. Third line, Connor Sherry, Nick Paul, and Michael. Is it Esamont?
Esamont, yeah.
And then your fourth line is Gergensons, Glending, and Schaffe.
Michael, who the fuck
I
are
look
you?
at that bottom six. This. Oh my
like, granted,
Lord.
bottom 6 is the easiest stuff to get at the deadline, but it's also just like, don't look at what won you those fucking cups. You know what won you those cups? A disgusting third line. And they don't have that
you can
anymore.
fix that, but I just look at it like that is horrible. Like, if they didn't have that good of a first line,
dude,
I don't think that's a playoff team.
Look at the back end. If they don't have Andre Vasilevsky, they're not a playoff team.
No,
I'll say it.
Totally agree.
I don't care.
Vasilevsky wasn't even that good last year. Like,
well, okay, he had a lot of major surgeries. I'm going to give him credit on that one. But, like, they still don't have a backup. Jonas Johansson sucks. Like,
worst goalie I've ever seen.
Dude, I watched Bedard, like, put his nuts on his head in person. Like,
that's true. And same with Kucherov and Hedman, so he's not alone in that.
Dude. Like, nothing makes me happier because, like, when I watched Taze and Kane in person, I would always, like, it'd be very rare for me to get one of them to pop off in person. I felt like, but like I've seen Bedard like 3 times, and I've seen him 4 times, I think, and every time he's popped the fuck.
He's got that X factor, man.
I love
it. I remember there was this tweet. It was like,
it gets me excited.
Post pictures from September 2022. And one of the pictures I had in my camera roll from September 2022 was Connor Bedard, still as a Regina Pats player. I think he had 2 goals and assists that game. And I remember there was a scout sitting next to me. He was like, yeah, he wasn't even that good, and he scored 2 goals and an assist. Like, that's how good he is.
Dude, this year, it literally was just like, oh, if you get him the puck with, like, an odd man rush, it's wraps. Like, he's going to find, like, the touch passes he was doing was shit Kane was doing, like, in his 8th year. He's doing it as a fucking rookie. Like, it's...
Dude, 18 with no help.
Oh my god! It actually is insane.
On the biggest stage in the world.
Like, there's gonna be a reality where like Bertuzzi had 60 points, Teravainen's got like 65 points, and Bedard's got like 95, and we're just cooking with grease.
Dude,
like,
if he gets 80, I'm happy. Like, if he could go 35, 45 or something like that.
Because like Bedard's gonna be 50 and 50 in his career. It's gonna happen.
At his peak. I think there could be a year if everything goes right, he could hit 60. Like Matthews.
60 and 60 1 year. Because he's such a good playmaker too. It doesn't get talked about enough. His fucking vision with the puck is insane. Oh my gosh. I don't know how we got back.
It's just like he's a good player or something.
It's almost like he's really good, guys. It's almost like he's really good.
Yeah.
And like I don't know, like just the last like those TikTok pages we've been sending each other of like old Hawks highlights. Like I'm watching Kane and stuff, and I'm just like, bro, we got another one. Except he's humble. Like Kane was a rock star. Like there's no other way to put it.
He owned it. He owned it.
He's Showtime. He's literally fucking Showtime. Like I don't know if you ever saw the Spit and Chicklets interview with Doc, but like apparently the first time he met Kane just fucking slides up on the bench. He's like, "Sup, Kaner." It's just like no, not a lot of players can do that and not look like a
I'm
dork.
sorry. This might not be the best comparison for a few reasons, but you know what? Patrick Kane was like the deep of the Chicago Blackhawks. Am I wrong, though? Am I wrong?
I can't believe the Minnesota Wild are all Cappy Barnias. This is so crazy.
I'm the peak of evolution. You're just a Cappy Barnia.
Oh, it's funny.
I kind of went off with that, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Back to the Tampa Bay Lightning. I'm looking at their power play lines first power play, disgusting. Gensel, Point, Hagel, Hedman,
Gross.
Kucherov. And then I look at the second pairing, Michael Eyssimont, Nick Paul, Cam Atkinson, Darren Radish, and Anthony Cirelli.
Not great, Bob.
No, like if they didn't have Vasilevsky, they're not making the playoffs. Like even with Kucherov,
dude, the division's loaded too. Like that's the part that I don't talk about.
Like Florida obviously is better. I think Boston's better than Tampa. Like at least Boston, like still Pasternak, and I think they have better depth than like Swayman is. You could like Swayman is like just a tier below Vasilevsky at his peak.
Yeah,
man. Man, if only we had their first for this year, that would have been a lot more interesting. Granted, still got like 2 top 20 picks.
Davidson, why don't you figure it out next time, pal? How about that?
God.
I mean, why don't you trade them? Actually, that's a lie because he probably got a good first for the Leafs this year.
Yeah, that is true. So that was the Tampa end of things for Stamkos. What do we think about Nashville's moves? Not only was the Stamkos saga, but Jonathan Marchessault saga in Vegas. He scored. Wrap up with Stamkos. I still think it's crazy. I'm pretty sure he was like 40 and 40 last year.
Yep, he had 40 goals last year.
Man, with the NHL, I feel a lot of the times like general managers are way too nice to like players that are kind of over the top, like and players that have been with the franchise a lot. Like I always think of the Blackhawks, like with Bowman giving out that contract to Brent Seabrook, but this is a scenario where I think they were a little too cruel to Stamkos. Like I think they should have found a way to keep him, but I mean that's all gone now. He's with Nashville, and same thing happened with Marchessault in Vegas. Like Stanley Cup champion there, Conn Smythe winner, original misfit with Vegas, came over from Florida, and just the fact that Nashville has 2 guys that are crazy goal scorers and have a massive chip on their shoulders. Man, I don't think Nashville is a legitimate cup contender, but I also think that series against Vancouver, if they have Marchessault and Stamkos in the lineup, they win that series. Are you kidding me? Instead of Colton Sissons missing that empty net and fucking everything up, if you have Marchessault or Stamkos, you might be in the second round still getting killed by the Oilers. But, you know, kind of the same thing as Washington, not winning a cup, but like maybe you win a round or 2 and get more playoff revenue because that's a lot of money. But in a league where a lot of the times it's so boring, like GMs can be so boring, I respect the hell out of Barry Trotz going for all the big names. That Brady Shea contract is lunacy. That is insane. I don't love it, but he's going to be a top 4 defenseman for them for maybe half that. And then Marchessault and Stamkos, I still think, like, again, I think they're both went 5 or no, Stamkos 4 years, and then Marchessault, I think, was 5 years. Like the first couple of years of that contract, you're getting 30, potentially still even 40 goals. So I respect Nashville for making things fun for a lot of times in a league where it's boring.
100%. I think Nashville's trying to capitalize on a position that there were organizations in right now to where I think they got like a 4-year window right now from what I'm looking at on Cap Friendly. And, you know, you really want to capitalize on that. Like I'm looking at their top 6 right now. It's Forsberg, Stamkos, Marchessault, O'Reilly, Novak, Nyquist. If we're looking at
that's
the point
pretty
total,
good. Yeah.
Yeah. If we're looking at all the point totals they had last year, that's one of the best in the league. Straight up. Now, how long it's going to be the best in the league, we'll see. Because O'Reilly's 33, Marchessault's 33, Stamkos is 34. Like, but it's not about that.
Yeah, to me, it's like I think they could win this year, but there's a possibility within like a year or two, like they just fall off a cliff and everyone sucks because of all the ages there.
Yeah,
but this year it could work.
Yossi's 34. Like these are the years you got to capitalize on it. So I give him credit for trying to jump on it. It's just like you probably got it's like the Panthers. You have like a 2 or 3 year window, but it's a different type of 2 year, 3 year window. It's more like these players are going to start regressing eventually. You're not going to have 8 Pavelskis on your team. You know what I mean? So it'll be very interesting.
They have guys coming up. Like I'm looking at the goaltending. Saros and Askarov alone could carry them to the playoffs. I'm looking at their forwards. Like I think Philip Tomasino could come up. They have
Matthew Wood, Tanner Molendyke,
Wood. Yeah. Like they
Igor
have
Shurin.
Like to me, they're just Washington West or Washington is Nashville East.
Joaquin Kamel.
Like I don't think they're going to bottom out, but they have an older team with like a few prospects on the way, and they're trying to capitalize on that. I think Nashville's a bit better than Washington, though.
For sure. It really just comes down to health with Nashville, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes down to making sure that none of these players start regressing earlier than you expect. Because if they do, that's going to lead to because the thing no one talks about is that they're going to get all those high cap hits in a year from the buyouts. So like the cap's going to get super tight for them. Like next year, they're going to have $9 million worth of buyouts. This year, they have $11 million worth of buyouts on their team.
Yeah.
It's nuts, to say the least. Buyouts and retentions, I should say. But it doesn't get easier, to say the least. So capitalize now while you can.
That first power play unit,
disgusting. It's actually
Philip
fucking
Forsberg, Ryan O'Reilly, Jonathan Marchessault, and then on the point you got Stamkos and Yossi. Oh, that is
like, how do you even set up that power play? Who gets the left circle? Stamkos? You put Forsberg on the right and then Marchessault on the bumper? Like, I don't even know what you want to do.
You have like 3 guys you can put in there that are all capable of scoring 40 goals.
It's nuts,
That's
dude.
Incredible. Yeah. Oh.
Just a
Blackhawks, you're gonna have.
It'd be like when they used to put Jose and Kane both on like the right side on the power play.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna do that with fucking Forsberg and Stamkos. Like Jesus Christ! You put Forsberg close to the net. You put Stamkos at the point. Oh man, Yossi's feeding everyone pucks. Like, if we were still in Vegas, I'd put like $10 down on Yossi winning the Norris because I feel like that could be a possibility. If this team hits what we think they're going to hit with Saros and net and just the depth they have, I think Yossi Norris might be a real possibility again next year, even at 34 years old.
Yeah, and like he has to like, and if they do well, it's because Yossi is carrying the load. Because like, yeah, you got Brady Shea and Alex Carrier and Luke Shen, but I don't think it's like we always think of
their forwards and goaltending are where it's at.
Mm-hmm. Like, which is weird because usually it's the other way around. Well, goaltending's always been good in Nashville, but like usually we think of Nashville as a team from the back end out, where now it's like it's the forward and goaltending, but the defense, you still got Roman Josi who could carry that defense no problem easily.
100%.
Yeah, so those were the like main teams. I kind of just want to go back to Oilers and go what their lineups could look like. So Daily Faceoff has the Nuge, McDavid, Hyman. I mean, you can't go wrong with that. The second line, Jeff Skinner, Leon Draisaitl, Victor Arvidsson. Like, I'm pretty sure Draisaitl's like most common linemen was like Warren Fogle, Evander Kane. Swap that out. Now you got Skinner and Arvidsson. Third line, Holloway, Henrique, and Perry. Still very good. And then you keep together the chat. Well, I guess Henrique was in there as well, but you keep together Janmark, Ryan, and Connor Brown. Still very good. Defense is a little like Ekholm and Bouchard, incredible top pairing. Like I feel Phil Broberg breaks out and plays good alongside a Nurse. That's a solid top 4. And then Kulak, CC, bottom pair. So it's actually not horrible. And if Skinner is how he was last year, like yeah, those were the big teams for me in free agency. Maybe not necessarily like are these the best signings, but like it makes them better for now. Like Utah made some trades, some signings. Washington same, whereas Nashville mainly free agency. Same with Seattle, Boston, and Edmonton. I'm actually curious to see what Boston's lineups look like, how they'll arrange things. Their center core is definitely better than it was last year. So Zaka, Lindholm, Pasternak as your first line. That's pretty good. Marchand, Coyle, and Geeky. Frederick, Poitras. I forgot about Poitras. They still have him. Brazeau. Then Jones, Beecher, and Kostelich. Defense, Zadorov, and McAvoy. If that can be Vlasic and Levshu-teuving in a few years, yes, please. Second pairing, Lindholm, Carlo, which is still gross. And then, oh no, we got Mason Lohr on our third pairing, and then you have Swayman as your goalie and Korpisalo as a backup. Crazy.
On me.
Yeah, Boston's in a position right now to where if Lindholm can even hit what he was a couple years ago, and I think Pasternak can get that out of him. Like,
Oh, 100%.
they're
One of the
gonna
best
be
wingers in the league.
Boston's going to be fine. They're always fine. They're going to be fine. It's just they're almost in like a step above the Leafs, where it's just like, yeah, you'll get to the second round. We'll just see what you do when you get there. You know what I mean?
I would be like, if they take a step back this year out of all years, I think that would be the most surprising to me, because I felt like even the year they won 65 games, I could have looked at it and be like, okay, this is the year they take a step back, especially last year. But if this is the year they finally step back, like, that's crazy. Who do you, I didn't really write it down, but who do you were some, maybe not losers, like outright losers? Because, I mean, if you don't spend any money on free agency, usually you're kind of a winner. But, like, who are some teams you thought could have done more, been more bold, I guess, in free agency? Because I have a couple teams.
LA is the first to come to mind.
Yeah, LA was, 100%.
I love the Byfield extension, but I think everything else they did this offseason was questionable, to say the least.
Rob Blakes has got to be on the hot seat. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we talked about this last time. Like, I'm not a fan of what Rob Blake's done, especially with what he was given. Not
like
ideal.
Stagnation. It would help not playing the Oilers, but still, like, they've had the pieces where they get better that team.
100%, but also, like, if you know what you're going to play, build your team to beat that, and they're not doing it right now.
Yeah, totally agree.
I think Pittsburgh lost the offseason. You only have many years left with Crosby, and you're
What is Kyle Davidson? I know exactly what Kyle Davidson. What is Kyle Davidson?
The non-superior KD is fucking up once again. What else is surprising?
Yeah.
It's just an old core there, and they're not building anything with it. It concerns me. Most people would say Carolina. I don't think I actually like Carolina's moves. I think they're really banking on youth.
I still think they have moves to make, because, like, yeah, they did lose Gensel, Tavo. They lost Shea. They lost Pesci. Like, but to me, Carolina's like one of the few teams, like, they're gonna get young guys to come up and play and fill those roles, no problem. Like, I still think, like, Nichash hasn't signed. I don't think Jarvis has signed either. Like, I still think there's something for Carolina to do. But yeah, I think they did take a little bit of a step back. I don't know if I call them losers though.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. I think they're just having an average off season. I would also want to throw in, like, if you really want to put it into perspective, I think Winnipeg's had a pretty rough off season in terms of trying to get better. I think they're just being pretty stagnant with what their moves are right now. And if I had to pick one more team, the more I think about it, I really have to say that, like, when you look at the grand scheme of things, I think Colorado had a very complacent offseason in terms of what they need to do to get over the hump. This is a team that should be competing for a Stanley Cup every year.
Dude, with that best core in the NHL, like, best assembling of, like, high-end players in the NHL. Are there any better? Like, am I missing?
Yeah.
Like, Cale Makar, McKinnon, Rantanen, I would even put Devon Toews in there.
Yep, I would.
Yeah.
Landeskog when he was healthy, like, it's a hell of a hockey team they have. And the fact that their most notable move this offseason, I want to say, is just getting Eric Brandstrom. That's not enough. And
which, honestly, I don't mind, but they should have done more than that, obviously.
Well, their cap doesn't allow it because of just the position they're in. And it's not going to get easier. Mikko Rantanen needs an extension this offseason. Like, this is not going to get easier for them. It might not be this offseason. It might be next offseason, but I think it's this offseason.
No, I'm pretty sure it's this offseason.
Yeah. Like, I remember he signed a 5-year after he, like, led the league in scoring for a little bit.
Because I know this Rantanen and Draisaitl are same free agents. So, yeah, Rantanen's eligible for an extension right now. And by the way, like, we talk about the Blackhawks, all the money they spent. I'm pretty sure
literally give Mikko Rantanen $12 million if he hits.
I'm pretty sure without accounting for the cap going up, the Blackhawks still have $30 million to work with.
Yeah, 12 mil times 7 for Mikko Rantanen.
If Rantanen or like free agency always look better a year out when the players haven't signed extensions. But if either one of them hit free agency, Rantanen or Draisaitl, you do everything to get one of those players on your team. They're that good. Don't care how much, how long you do it. They're that good. And kind of to go back to Carolina, like they're not even that bad. Like, first line, Svechnikov, Aho, Jarvis. Very good. Second line, this is what I mean. Like they're getting youth to come in, like you said too. Bradley Nadeau. Okay.
If Nadeau makes it out of camp, I'd be a little shocked. I'd be honest.
Okay, maybe I was a bit wrong because Kotkaniemi as second line center, that's still interesting to me. I
Still
thought it would have been
good.
someone bought out. Yeah, like he can definitely.
And they got
hold it down for
Roslovic
now.
too.
Yeah, Nietzsche. Like I still look at their defense. It's Slavin,
It's not
Burns,
bad.
Orlov, Walker, Gostisbehere, Champ. That's actually a pretty.
It's
good
not
defense
bad.
to
It's
play.
not bad.
Yeah.
It's the goaltending. If Kochetkov can take that step, they're going to be fine. They're going to be fine.
I feel if they maybe make a trade. I wonder if there's a Natchez trade out there and maybe they get like another four. I don't know.
Magic,
I feel if they
Vichy, Martin. Honestly, it really just comes down to Svechnikov being healthy because I think Svechnikov will finally take that step to where we're all just like, oh shit. Okay, so
I think if they get another Ford in there, like I still think they're probably back where they were last year. But yeah, Colorado, don't love like they've really just stagnated since they won that cup. Like they've kind of shuffled things around. Like they tried Ryan Johansson at center, tried
and
Casey
Devontae's extension
Middlestat,
kicks in. I'm pretty sure,
which is worth it because he's that good. He would be most teams' number one defenseman. Like you might make Team Canada.
Oh yeah, the
Drew
Middlestat
Wang-
extension is not bad, but like this is the problem with them right now. They're in a position to where Ross Colton can't be making $4 million for the next 3 years.
It's funny because Ross Colton, I thought would have been a perfect target for the Blackhawks, and I wonder if something still happens there.
The Hawks tried to get Nichushkin, like that was a thing. like, granted, the off ice shit is crazy, but like that's a whole other thing.
Don't worry, they're saved. Not only did they sign Brandstrom, they got Calvin DeHaan. Woo!
Like they're not like they're gonna make the playoffs, but it's just like
no doubt about it. They might win the division. Like
it's just like. These aren't the moves that are going to put you over the top.
No.
You know what I mean? And they don't have the prospect pool to be like, oh, freaking, we have this guy in the minors and he's going to come up and be great. Like,
that well is run dry quite quickly because I remember like a couple of years ago, it's like, oh, we lose Kadri. Oh no, Newhook's going to take over and everything will be fine. And then, and it's like, oh no, like we might lose Sam Girard or whatever. Bowenbarm will just take, and then he's got traded. So
and he's gone.
Things can change quickly, and prospects don't always pan out the way you think they're going. Like that can all dry up very quickly, especially when your team gets older. Maybe this is me being super hyper critical because this team is already very good, but I just hold them to such a high standard. And I won't even say like I don't like what Dallas did with their defense. Like. I think them keeping Tanev would have been perfect, but I just look at Lyubushkin and Dumb on the right side, both of them. I don't know, but Dallas is Dallas. Like they're gonna find a way to like trade for a better defenseman. Their forward core is still like from top line to bottom line the best in the NHL, and Jake Onger will probably help mask the deficiencies on their defense, even though they still have Harley Heiskanen and Lindell. So I think I'm being a little hypercritical there because like Lyubushkin and Dumba could work out for Dallas, but they're still
okay.
Dallas is
now that you mentioned it, Dallas's offseason was a little disappointing. But my whole thing with Dallas is just like they're gonna get better just by you.
Well, that's what I mean. Like I think I'm being a little too hypercritical there. Like their defense got worse, but they still have the best forward core. Like
they almost made the cup final, and Thomas Harley didn't do fuck all. Like Logan Stankovic's just scratching the surface. Wyatt Johnson, I think, could be an 85. He still has more to give.
Yeah.
Like like I was watching highlights from Dallas.
They still have Maverick Bork who's going to come up.
Dude, think about this for a second. Speaking
of the defense, Liam Bixel too.
Yep, he's gonna. From what I've heard, he's gonna play top right pair out of camp. From what they want,
that's crazy, and he's probably gonna play very well too.
Dude, he was solid coming out.
They really are the model for the Blackhawks. And
yes, dude.
Really.
Think about this. This is why I want to talk about this because you look at the transition from the old core to the new core with the Stars, right? I was watching Stars highlights from the 2021 season. You want to know who one of their top performers was in 3 years ago? Alex Radulov. Like, when was the last time you heard that name? But he was so good on that team at the time, but they knew when to step away from Alex Radulov and move to their next step.
They found that perfect balance of like winning for now. Like they're the perfectly set up NHL team. Like you're winning now, but you also have a prospect pool to keep helping you. Like they're just so, yeah.
Yep.
They're the model. It's crazy how well built, like managed they are.
100%.
Like I said, that they've done everything but win a cup. And I think that could be all. Like they could win the cup this year, and no one would be shocked at all. Yeah, like again, that's kind of nitpicking at Dallas. I'm trying to think of who else wasn't having a great off season. What did you think about Toronto? Because they didn't trade away any of their core. They did improve. It's the same thing where it's like, okay, those contracts aren't going to be great for a few years from now, but they're trying to win now. I like how they did upgrade their defense, but I look at the forward outside that core four. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not a Toronto needs to make a move forward, and that move forward is going to come from trading number 16, and they're not going to do that. And if I had to be the guy with the crystal ball, I would have to imagine that Mitch Marner's walking in free agency on come July 1st. And that is probably the worst outcome that can come out of all of this, if I had to be honest.
Yeah, at that point, you'd rather just make a trade, and even if you don't win it or get good value back from that, it's still better than him just walking.
Yeah, the Leafs are in a position to where, like, I completely understand why Steve is just completely senile about this team.
Oh, I don't blame him. I'd be the same way too. Yeah, other than that, I can't really think of any other teams. I mean, Florida getting Nate Schmidt for like $800,000, I'm pretty sure, and then
Adam Boqvist,
yeah,
baby.
to like help rebuild that defense the same way that they've done a few years past. Like, I really like that. I'm just trying to like go through all the teams in my mind. No, that's all I can really think of, to be honest.
Yeah, it's been an interesting offseason, to say the least. Lots happened. Took 2.5 hours to kind of go over it.
Yeah.
But it's gonna lead to not only an interesting season, but I feel like September is gonna be a hot spell, whether it's for extensions, whether it's for watching how battles go in training camp, and it's going to be extremely exciting to watch going forward. And like, as a Blackhawks fan, they're going to be better this year, hopefully. So like, that's exciting in itself. You also just look at the league, and as a whole, it's just so deep in terms of teams that could take a step forward, teams that could take a step back. The unpredictability in this league is at an all-time high, I feel like, which makes this to be almost a must-watch season, which is what you want out of your sport. Like, the NFL does such a good job at this every year, and I feel like the NHL is just starting to kick into it just because of the salary cap increasing and the amount of teams that have, whether it's really good talent or really good youth, they're both balancing out right now to where we're just going to have this conglomerate of really good teams.
You still got like Ovechkin, Crosby, still playing at quite a high level, but you got all these young players coming in. Like, there's almost a 20-year gap there. Like, it's really a golden age for hockey, and I hope like all the people that like advertise this game, whether that's TV or big personalities, like just keep doing a good job, because the sport is awesome. But obviously, there's so many flaws with it, whether that's like within the culture of the sport or anything else. So. Kind of a quick shout out to Jessica Campbell for becoming the first woman coach behind an NHL bench. That is so awesome to see. What we say, like, the NHL is so slow to like get to this kind of stuff, but it's glad to see it happen. And we always say, like, the first, but certainly not last. Awesome to see that.
It opened the door, and that's all you need nowadays.
Yeah. Kind of before we wrap it up, I do have a couple Twitter questions that I put out a couple weeks ago.
Finding Twitter questions! They might have just got lost in transit, but that's not the point. All right, what's the question?
So this is from Tanner. I actually think this is a great question. Who is going to be a surprise player for the Blackhawks this year? And I have a name, and I wonder if it's the same name as yours.
Go first. I want to hear yours.
Ilya Mikheyev. I think he could be a 20-20 guy this year.
Oh yeah, I love hearing that. I'm gonna be honest. It's gonna be like not the craziest name, but like I feel like if the team is healthy and he gets the positions he needs to be put in, I think this is the year Lucas Reichel finally gets through that next step.
I would love nothing more than that. I think the big thing with him is like he's so like I don't like he definitely has the pressure for himself to do it, but I feel like the fan base as a whole, like there isn't like but we think of Bedard first, we think of even Korchinski first, we even think of Nazar and more before Reichel. I think maybe him having that contract set in place where he's not like, oh, I gotta do it this year, else I'm done. Like I feel just him not much expectations. I feel he could potentially flourish under that.
If I had to throw one more in there also, I really think there's a possibility where Brossoit just takes the net from Mrazek.
Mm-hmm.
If he's actually what he's shown from the last 5 years, and I know he's played on good hockey teams, but like if he even puts up like a 915, he's stealing the net.
Dude, 910. If he does what Mrazek did last year, yes.
Yep. And I hope for it, honestly, because that means we're probably winning more hockey games.
Got this question from Tyler Avon at Tyler Avon 10. 2C, that's the whole question. And to me, that's probably the biggest like unknown coming in this, because if it could be easily solved if Frank Nazar just takes it over and says, fuck it, I'm mine and I'm going hard the whole year and I'm gonna
like be hope so, man. Like
and be like in the Calder conversations, yeah.
If those are our 3 centers this year, I'm so fucking happy. But I just don't think that's going to happen.
No, not quite yet. But if it does happen this year, I think next year, like after this season, that's when we're
2025, Nazar's taking off. No doubt in my mind.
That's when we're going to like. But if he takes off this year, that's when we're going to start having discussions of the team making the playoffs.
If he takes off this year, I'm getting a Winter Classic jersey. That's what's going to happen.
Freaking go.
But if I had to, so like, I'm not going to give a solid answer because I think there's 4 options at 2C this year. And it really just depends on where they go with how they stack the lines. I think there's a world where Frank Nazar gets 2C and he just earns it out of camp straight
That's
up.
probably the best outcome that we would want. Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah. It's the best outcome. I also think there's a world where Richardson just says we'll put Dickinson in the top 6 and we'll just leave him there. And he'll be the shutdown line will be the second line, which is fine. I'm okay with that. I also think there's a world
because there's still like 20 goal potential out of Dickinson and Mikheyev.
100%. And these next 2 options I feel like are interchangeable just because of what I think the line's going to be. But I think Athanasiou or Kurashev's going to be the 2C just because they want to do like an all-speed line with him, Nazar, Kurashev, like that. And not Nazar, Hall, Kurashev, Reichel, was any combination of those 5 or 6 forwards could easily fill out that second line. And the beauty of the way Davidson's crafted this team is Athanasiou can play center, Kurashev can play center, Nazar can play center, Dickinson can play center. You have options across the board. And it puts them in a very good spot going forward. If I had to, if my heart says Nazar, my gut says Athanasiou, do with that information what you will.
Yeah, I think that again, that's probably my biggest like I wouldn't even say gripe, but like concern with this team. Like they don't have any like natural center. Like the only natural centers I consider like Bedard and Dickinson. Like again, they have a lot of guys that can play center in a pinch, but like I'm looking at Athanasiou and even like Ryan Donato, like all those guys. I'm like you can play center if you need to, like in injuries, but like ideally you're playing on the wing. And again, like injuries are gonna happen. Like again, Nazar, there's a possibility Nazar takes over. Like maybe Cole Gutman comes back up. Like they do have those guys. That's just they don't really have anyone right. Like maybe they make a trade for Ross Colton. I don't think it's gonna happen. Like if they did trade for him, like that'd be perfect. Like go Bedard, Colton, and Dickinson, and then like. Oh no, you have Nazar coming up, taking over the second line.
Oh no!
Bedard, Nazar, Dickinson, and Colton. Oh no, like, but who knows? Like, so much can like not a lot happens in the summer, but things can change once like training camp starts, whether that's internally or externally. But all in all, like to kind of put a bow on everything we talked about this day today, I'm very optimistic at where the team is. Like you can glimpse and. Even like put on the rosy colored glasses and convince yourself like if everything goes right, this team could like battle for like the final wildcard spot. I think we're still another year out from them, but yeah, another year Bedard of him actually having winner. Just Korchinski, maybe he takes a step, especially with having a defensive partner and having a goaltending duo of Brossoit and Mrazek, where they're not legitimate starters, but they've proven in the past like they can be very like at least above average goalies, and then they actually have depth and they have more young talent on the way. Levshu-teuving is going to be in the AHL. They have all those other defensemen with Del Mastro, Kaiser, Allen, and like Colton Dock still hasn't gotten a chance to play in there. Like there's just they have so many. You're starting to slowly see things form together, and I'm really excited. Like I'm even more excited this year than I was last year to watch the Hawks play again.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun season to say the least. I'm very excited.
And there's gonna be frustrated. Like there's still this team's probably still gonna lose 50 games, regulation overtime, but and like anyone worried about this team taking too big of a step, one, why would it matter if they did? And two,
oh
like,
no, they're gonna be good. Yeah, fuck,
all the
I hate
moves,
this.
All the moves they made anyways. I think I was reading a Dom Lucian article. It's like the Blackhawks added more like win probability, but they're still going to be like bottom 5 in the NHL. I think they'll probably be somewhere in the middle. Like I think they're picking 6th, 7th, 8th next year, which still wouldn't even be that bad. All the signs they made, all the moves they make, I don't know how as a Blackhawks fan you could look at that and see like any bad outcome scenario, because I honestly can't think of any.
Yeah, and I 100% agree. I don't know how you could see this offseason as a bad thing.
All right. I don't know if you have anything else to add, or we can wrap this podcast up. Holy shit, we've almost gone for 3 hours, but this is what we kind of needed to do to touch on everything because we haven't done one in a month, and like there's so much to talk about, and it all happened like all within a week. Over the summer, I was talking with you, Dylan. Like I was thinking like we do like a top 10 Blackhawks prospect list, and then we kind of record all once, but then release it over the summer. And then to me, the biggest thing would be like doing top 10 at each position: centers, wingers, defensemen, and goaltending. And then we kind of have that to release over the summer before we get into the next season. But yeah, we're gonna take the summer off to relax for a bit, but we still will have some content coming out.
100%. And I can't wait to get those off-season shows going. We'll probably do a whole segment next show about the boys season 4. I think we'll need to do a retrospective.
You want to do it now?
No. We've gone a long time.
Yeah, we could spend another half an hour talking about that.
I think we could do movies. I think we could do like a movies and TV podcast.
That's wise not to do that. Yeah. But needless to say, wrap it up quickly for the boys. Season 5 is going to be all out chaos. We like so many different possibilities that could happen. But anyways,
season 4 finale was like Infinity War to season 5's endgame. At least in terms of like how the last 15 minutes went.
Yeah. Oh, just them playing Heart-Shaped Box by Nirvana, like absolute perfection for that.
Yep.
Anyways, I don't know. Do you have any closing thoughts before we wrap this up?
Cheers to a good 2023-2024 season. And here's to a good 2025 season.
Hell yeah. Yeah, thank you all for tuning in. If you're listening to us on your whether that's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon, Google, they got podcasts pretty much everywhere now. Give us a 5-star rating. Leave us a good review. Why don't you? And if you're watching our beautiful faces on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything, and most importantly, smash that like button. So, yeah, thank you all for smash that like button. Yeah, thank you all for tuning in. Enjoy your summer, and peace out, y'all.